This is Ollie Clam. What do you mean clam? What does clam mean to you? What are you saying? You're scaring me. I'm blind right now. These glasses are so dirty. I really am blind for real. I'd be dead back in the day. Back in the day with no glasses. I'd be done for. Calm. Yeah, because there's no one here. I'm just here to hang out and have a fun time. Not really fun. My microphone sensitivity's low. I don't know why. 1 second. It's true, it's true, true. There you go. That should be better. I can't spell either, to be honest. I don't think I can hear myself. Okay, there we go. I can hear myself now. Perfect. The 14-year-olds haven't found the stream yet. Yeah, very true. They're going to find it. I have regular streams up too sometimes, but people do what they want to do. They do what they want to do. I don't even know what video I wanted to watch today, honestly. I came in with 0 plans. 0 plans on anything. Why do you guys gotta be weird? Why are you guys just weird? You just come in here and be extremely, aggressively weird. Thank you, kid. We're gonna block Calvin, because Calvin's being a weirdo. Remember when Trump got COVID? Trump got COVID, bro. That was crazy. How old are you? I'm 57. 57 years old. It's kind of crazy.
But now down to real business with my stellar panel of white dudes for and against Harris. Host of the Rubin Report, Dave Rubin. Host of the David Pakman Show, David Pakman. Host of No Lie with Brian Tyler Cohen, Brian Tyler Cohen. And host of the Ben Ferguson podcast, Ben Ferguson. What a
Do you need to smile when someone introduces you? Why is David Pakman smiling so hard?
Host of No Lie with Brian Tyler Report, Dave Rubin. Host of the David Pakman Show.
Oh, he's happy. He's happy to be here, man. He's gonna drink some conservative tears, some MAGA tears.
David Pakman. Host of No Lie with Brian Tyler Cohen, Brian Tyler Cohen. And host of the Ben Ferguson podcast, Ben Ferguson. What a magnificent quartet of white dudes, if ever I've seen one. David Pakman, I want to start with you. You were very clear to me when we spoke before the election that this whole issue of transgenders in sport and so on was completely irrelevant and nobody cared. Let me remind you.
You're saying Kamala Harris and Biden have come out in support of this.
They do. They support.
I don't think Kamala or Biden even talked about trans issues, to be honest. They were asking Kamala about the trans in prison thing, the transgender surgeries or whatever, and Kamala just said that she followed federal law, and so did Trump. But I don't think Kamala actually commented on like any trans issues or LGBT issues in general.
Transgenders in sport and so on was completely irrelevant and nobody cared. Let me remind you.
You're saying Kamala Harris and Biden have come out in support of this.
They do. They support policies which actively protect. They support policies that protect transgender athletes performing in women's sport, and I think that is madness. You're saying, well, because most of these things in this UN report were outside of America, it doesn't.
Which policies would they be talking about? Would it be when they changed what's covered under civil rights law? Because I'm pretty sure they included trans people under more civil rights protections under Biden. I don't know if there were any bills or, laws actually passed concerning trans athletes. That does seem like something you can leave up to the states, and also each state has their own athletic conference. So if they want to make different rules on that, maybe have co-ed options, maybe have options for trans people, but it's hard because trans people make up like 0% of the population. So I don't know if you can really make a policy centered around trans people. Most of the Republican governors that pass anti-trans in sports bills, you can ask them, what's your example of this happening? And they'll say like, oh, I don't know. I don't even know where this is happening, but they're still going to pass a law for it.
Doesn't matter. It does matter.
What I'm saying, it's a completely contrived issue that
Gender affirming care for adults is not an issue at all for most people, any reasonable person. And gender affirming care for minors, the most aggressive, reasonable person, the most aggressive lawmaker would talk about having the mental health services, having therapy, and some radically progressive people talk about puberty blockers. But that's on the radical left side. That's like extremely progressive, extremely far left. Introducing puberty blockers. Most people say we need more information on this kind of stuff before making a decision. I don't know any Democrats that come out and say like, oh, we're for giving puberty blockers to a 12-year-old or whatever. I really just don't hear that anywhere. Except Republicans say Democrats say that, but I don't have any evidence of Democrats actually saying that.
That almost no one cares about in every single opinion poll.
Wow. Well, the problem is, David, you couldn't have possibly been any more wrong, because the New York Times, the liberal Bible, did a whole piece about the ad that Trump ran, which is the Kamala's for they, them, Donald Trump's for you. They said it was one of the most effective.
The ads Donald Trump ran had nothing to do with what Kamala actually talked about during her campaign. Kamala did not talk about trans people. They just made it about being trans because they knew that was one issue that can scare people, because the Trump campaign couldn't talk about any policy at all, so they had to focus on trans people. That's the only reason they ran those ads. Were they effective? Yes, and I made a video about that, talking about how Democrats should message around trans issues, so you can look at my channel for that. But it's not Kamala's campaign's fault that the Republicans made it about wokeism. Kamala did not talk about gender or race. She purposely stayed away from those topics as much as humanly possible because she knows that she'll get torn apart in the media if she talks about anything to do with her identity. Republicans talked about race constantly during this entire process, and Democrats did not effectively call them out. Democrats should have been calling out Republicans far more than they did, because Democrats are pretty spineless and weak when it comes to actually attacking Republicans. Oh, we're going to call you a fascist and then invite you to the White House, and Joe Biden's going to be smiling with a photo shoot of Donald Trump. Like, that sends a good message, of course. I'm really unhappy with Biden for doing that.
30-second spots in political history, and may have shifted the race, according to her own side, by 2.7 percentage points in Trump's favour after people watched it. Let's take a look at the ad before I come to you.
For prisoners.
For prisoners, every transgender inmate in the prison system would have access.
Hell no, I don't want my taxpayer dollars going to that.
Kamala supports transgender sex changes in jail with our money.
Kamala even supports letting biological men compete against our girls in their sports. Kamala is for they, them. President Trump is for you.
I'm Donald J. Trump, and I approve this message.
So, look, on reflection.
So all that law would be, okay, if you consider gender-affirming care healthcare, and the rule is, the law says, you have a law that says you're going to provide health care for inmates or someone that's in a prison. Then if gender-affirming care and trans health care is included in health care, then the policy that includes health care for people in prison would also include trans health care. Now, if you disagree that trans health care should be a thing, that's your actual position. But Republicans talk about the prisons and illegal migrants getting trans surgeries because they want to scare people. Just make the argument that you want to exclude trans people from getting this kind of healthcare, because that's what the policy actually is when you look at the real policy, how it's written, and what the policy repercussions are. And that's what Kamala was saying. They were asking questions. Does that mean if you are trans in prison, are you going to get healthcare, essentially? But because it's trans care, everyone freaks out.
David, do you want to admit you were completely and hopelessly wrong about this?
No, in fact, in the aftermath.
Yeah, she gave mild answers, very mild answers. She refused to talk about it. I don't think she should have ran from it. She should have just been very matter-of-fact in her approach, because not having any narrative at all, not talking about it at all, pretty much gave Republicans grounds to give whatever narrative they wanted, to say whatever story they wanted. And it looked very flaky and not genuine when Kamala just ran away from a lot of these questions, including on her own record and including on what policies she was running on. She could have been pounding. Whenever she got a question on this, divert it to, we should talk about the issues. Trans people make up 1% of the population. Let's talk about issues like expanding Medicare, like taxing the rich, and helping working class people. She should have just pivoted to those issues. I don't think Kamala's a strong interviewer. I don't think she ever was. She ran a decent campaign, but not very strong in the interviews.
Math, we figured out how dishonest you were, Piers, during that. And hopefully we can get a little bit of an opportunity. So let me lay it out.
Of course.
First of all,
yeah, of course. The policy with the prisoner thing was still under Trump, the trans inmate thing. That was still a policy under Trump, but the issue was, well, Trump can do anything and no one will care. Trump can literally just come out and say that the entire government is gone and corporations own us, and his supporters will be happy about it because Lord King Donald Trump said so.
I went back and looked at the UN report in more detail. The UN report said nothing of the sort that you said. What you were referring to dishonestly was one footnote from an anti-trans organization making completely unsubstantiated claims. So I will wait for the apology from you. The UN report doesn't say that, but that wasn't the crux of your question. Second part of it, that ad with Kamala, I would have loved Kamala to respond to it. All she had to say was, at the time that she said that, it was Trump administration Bureau of Prisons policy that that's what's available to trans inmates when determined medically necessary. She would follow the law. You haven't said that. And then number 3, Piers, on who cares about the issue, I checked Gallup survey, trans issues at the very bottom. The reality is almost no one's trans. Almost no trans people are in competitive sports, and people do not care about the issue.
It's almost funny. It's not really funny. It's almost funny. But the right can just make up any lies they want. They don't need to quote anything for real. So the right can make up claims, and David Pakman just corrected some of them. But this is how all the podcasts turn right-wing, all the fitness YouTubers turn right-wing. The barrier for entry is so low. You can just say whatever opinions and they'll accept it as long as it falls along their party lines and their marching orders. The marching orders are all that matters for them. So David Pakman needs to actually go fact check something and then come back to the conversation. So Republicans can make up a million lies and it'll take forever to fact check all of them. And that's how misinformation and disinformation permeates everywhere. I talk to so many people who don't understand what Trump's immigration policy actually is. Like, I talked to a very strong Trump supporter, and he asked me a question. He said, why don't they just make all of these working people who are undocumented citizens? Why don't they just make them citizens and have them pay taxes? And I'm like, yeah, that's Kamala's policy. But he already voted Trump. He didn't know that. He didn't know that Trump wants to deport all undocumented people, whether they commit crimes or not, whether they're members of communities or not, whether they're seeking asylum or not. But many Trump voters just don't know that because right-wing media doesn't tell them. Please consider subscribing and drop a like on the stream.
However, there's a lot of money made grifting about trans this and trans that, even from people on this panel. So I get why they keep bringing it up.
I actually want to bring in an extra guest, the former Democratic congressional candidate, Brianna Wu.
Why wouldn't we? They're undocumented. Because if you live in our country for 5 years and you work a job and you're supporting your family, and we have like a technicality where your protective status ends, there's zero reason to deport that person. They're not a danger to anyone. They're good community members, good taxpayers, and they're just raising a family in America. And there's no reason to tear apart their homes and rip them out of their homes and separate them from their families when they haven't done anything wrong. It's actually not illegal. It's not illegal to seek asylum in a country. You can enter a country seeking asylum under our actual laws if you pay attention to our actual laws. Being undocumented in general does not mean you're a violent criminal. It's a waste of money, it's a waste of taxpayer money, and it's a waste of causing violence on people for zero reason. For zero actual reasons, I mean. If you're a kid or you're uninformed, then it seems really macho and really cool. But if you're an adult and you talk about the actual repercussions of what these policies do, then it changes a little bit.
Who is also a trans woman. Brianna, welcome to Uncensored. Yeah. I can't think of anyone better qualified, given you're the only trans member of the panel now.
What's happening with the left is that these saviors, these progressive warriors that you see in these boxes here, think that they know more about these people than they know about themselves.
Absolutely ridiculous.
And by By the way, this has nothing to do with a well-funded evil money machine that the Republicans were doing. There's something called boys and girls, and
Ruben's
they are
the right guy to
different.
talk about
and
that,
most
isn't
parents, Most parents, oh God, you're such a smug prick. Listen, most parents actually want to defend their daughters and don't want them to have the crap kicked out of them by boys, and they don't want them to be playing boys in soccer or any of these other things. That is a defense of girls. If someone, as an adult, 18, 21, we can discuss the age, wants to dress how they want, have any surgeries, take whatever drugs, do whatever they want with their body, most people, even Republicans, don't object to that. And I have no problem referring to Brianna as she, because I can clearly sense she would treat me with respect and I'll treat her with respect. And it's a two-way street rather than pandering and bowing to a bunch of people that could not give.
Honestly, at this point, I think Democrats should probably just say we're not in favor of trans athletes in sports because it affects so few people. We should be focusing on core civil rights. So like being against bathroom bills, making sure that there is not discrimination in classrooms, not discrimination on a social level in overall society or economically. The sports thing is a losing issue, even though it's so small. But I think Democrats should just bite the bullet because it'll take away so much ammunition from them, from the right wing. And after we take away the sports ammunition from the right wing, then what happens is they're forced to be very anti-human and anti-trans in general. Now they can say, like, they could be like, oh, your daughter is going to be playing a sport and she's going to get beat up by a big man who wants to be a woman that day. And if you take away the sports argument, then they need to go back into being, dare I say the word, transphobic. Because all the kids in chat cannot, you cannot handle using certain words because you get offended too easily. I don't want to offend you. But yeah, you have to take away their shield, the things they hide behind. Divert back to real policy. Please drop a like on the stream and hit subscribe. We have 500 viewers on YouTube Shorts. I have a poll up, and 75% of them think Donald Trump won the 2020 election. So that's how we root them out.
Give a crap about anybody else.
Yeah, and David, hang on. Let me bring in David Patton again, because you were very quick when I asked how you felt about being so wrong about this to accuse me of being misleading, disinformation, misconstruing a United Nations report. So because we're a very nimble team here, while you were talking, they just went and double-checked because I was...
No, but Democrats don't support trans people in all sports at all ages, in all conferences. And there's no laws to suggest that. It's not throwing trans people under the bus. I have a whole video about not throwing trans people under the bus. And if you want to say non-contact or there's a certain threshold, or you could just allow different athletic conferences to set the rules in different states as well. What we're really focused on is civil liberties in totality. That's the main discussion. We want to have a discussion on humanizing trans people. We can't get hung up on sports, in my opinion, because that's just not a winning issue. And sports are already a huge thing in American minds, so we're not going to change that ever. Sports mean the world to people. If you ever talk to like a soccer mom or whatever, they think their little star is going to be an NFL quarterback, bro. Their kid could be like 5 years old. They'll walk into a wall, be like, yep, that's my NFL superstar, baby. So sports in America are overinflated in like what they mean to people in general. But yeah, I just wouldn't die on that hill. We should offer more leagues, more opportunities for those kinds of things. But acting like, denying basic reality on those issues, it does not really work that well.
Curious what you were talking about. And we found, hang on,
And again, we'd rather them just say publicly they're anti-trans. We want them to say they're anti-trans first. Then we talk about trans issues. We talk about what trans actually means. And then we can move on to sports in like 20 years when we have more science behind it and people, and we can make sure that trans people are protected under law for civil rights in general. But yeah.
We found the United Nations report. And it's not a footnote, as you said, it's page 5 of the report. It says, and I quote, The United Nations says nearly 900 biological females have fallen short of the podium because they were beaten out by trans athletes. The findings were compiled by the UN's Rapporteur on Violence Against Women, entitled Violence Against Women and Girls in Sport. The report said more than 600 athletes didn't medal in more than 400 competitions in 29 different sports, totaling over 890 medals. The replacement of the female sports category with a mixed sex category has resulted in an increasing number of female athletes losing opportunities, including medals, when competing against males, the report said. So, David, again, would you like to now apologise for being not only wrong about this being an election issue, but being wrong about your correction when I asked you if you were sorry for being wrong?
Look at the underlying source, Piers. I have it printed out
it was
in
a
the other room.
It wasn't a
Look
footnote.
at the
It's page
underlying
5.
source.
It's page
now,
5.
I do want to say one thing about this.
I do think it's funny that the main discussion people are having is about medals in sports. I probably have more medals in sports than everyone in this chat that's screaming right now. And I value human life and civil liberties much more than I value medals in sports. I understand the social conflict that can arise. And yeah, we can talk about the policy. But if your main policy concern in the election has to do with your medals you're getting in athletics, then you might not have other real legitimate issues. If you wake up in the morning and you're like thinking about trans people in sports, then you probably have a pretty privileged life. I'm just saying. You have a lot of privilege if you feel safe enough that you can focus on that issue every day.
I actually agree with a lot of what Brianna and what Dave Rubin said. I actually agree with it. I am not the savior here to do X, Y, or Z for trans people. What I'm saying is I don't actually think I even need to play that role. I don't think this is the issue that maybe you think I believe it to be. So I agree with a lot of what Dave Rubin and Brianna said there. I do think it's important to consider that when Dave Rubin talks about well-funded this or that, his Russian money source just dried up, and he's the last
Bro, he really went there, bro.
person who should be talking about funding sources. And to be honest, Dave, hold on.
This is really good. This is awesome, bro. David Pacman, this is really good. This is how you do it, bro. This is how you do it. I'm actually really impressed.
Hold on, now Ben's jumping. Everybody's jumping. Hold on a second. I can't even hear Ben. Why would Ben jump in? I'm not even addressing Ben. I think Dave's
hang on.
that Brian and I
You've made a very direct charge against Dave Rubin. Let Dave Rubin reply to that.
Because no one believes your BS anymore. Jesus Christ, these people are so pathetic.
They've been indicted, Rubin. The Tenet Media people were indicted.
I got indicted.
He was not indicted. And it said in the report, if you weren't a smug prick, to quote him earlier,
I didn't say Rubin was indicted. I just said the money dried up.
That Dave Rubin and the others involved did not know about it. And this is why people think you're kind of a jackass.
Yes, this is why everyone hates you.
Putting words in my mouth.
This is the reason why
Bro, they're so offended. They are so offended. They're crying. Look at these liberals smiling right here. They are laughing. The liberals are laughing, okay? And they are crying. They are so offended. These are snowflakes right here, bro.
Read the report. And by the way, Pacman, if this happened to you, and in the
Ben's
report it said you were unaware, if it said that you were unaware, I would defend you because I don't think you indict people for things.
I'm defending Dave.
Says in the
I'm
indictment,
defending Dave.
In the indictment,
I'm defending
they had no knowledge of the money where it was coming from. So don't be a
I'm
jackass.
defending Dave on that note. But the money.
Someone in chat said, yeah, you look and sound like an athlete. Anyone who says a comment like that is one of the biggest losers you can talk to, bro. Someone who says anything like that has one of the most underdeveloped senses of self, underdeveloped confidence. You know, your identity, you do not feel comfortable at all. I hope you find the self-confidence and self-love that you deserve, buddy. I have my medals. I hope you have your medals, okay? Your participation medals.
He dried up.
Pac-Man, you are no real Pac-Man, which I'm quite good at. You know, there's a reason, Piers, there's a reason that everyone hates progressives. And the reason that everyone hates progressives, it's not just that they're wrong about all of the issues and they will lie and their only real goal is power. It's because they're also smug elitists. And Pac-Man, I did see online the other day, you were crying because your audience is purging you and you're running out of subscribers and you're in a doom loop. And the reason is no one gives, Piers, pardon me, a shit about this woke bullshit anymore.
Wait, Dave Rubin's show is one of the most not most, but one of the lowest viewership conservative shows. Dave Rubin, he panders to everyone. Dave Rubin panders to everyone and gets no viewership. I don't know how Dave Rubin can talk about, as far as people getting money from Russian sources, and whose entire job is political commentary. Like, for this many subscribers, he has what, 2.63 million subscribers. He does not get good numbers. There's certain videos that pop off a little bit because of the election, but overall, he has not gotten good numbers for a few years now. Because if it's not the election, he hovers around 50,000 views, 20,000 views. Yeah, but I guess if you make something big around the election, you're gonna have good views. But yeah, I've seen him the past 4 years, and he's really just fallen off completely.
We've had it, and now you guys can sit back and be quiet. You want to talk about people being paid for their ideas?
Just let me address this.
It's you people who have had the entire cultural machine for 20 years. You've had all of entertainment. You have had all of Hollywood. You have had all of music. You've had all your P. Diddy parties and Epstein and everything else. And now enough of us have...
Donald Trump was best friends with Jeffrey Epstein and P. Diddy. Elon Musk was business partners and friends with P. Diddy. I need to bring that up whenever someone says this, because it's really dumb that people like this will talk about, oh, Democratic Diddy party participants, when Donald Trump is someone who was best friends with Epstein. Epstein knew intimate details about inner White House workings, or inner workings of the White House. You guys cannot hide from this. Donald Trump just nominated Matt Gaetz to Attorney General, okay? Matt Gaetz, who slept with a 17-year-old as a 40-year-old man, who paid for sex parties as a 40-year-old man with underage girls, and was asking them to recruit other girls for him to invite to sex parties, as he was providing drugs and paying for transportation and paying for locations. You cannot make these Diddy accusations, just like everything, because it's hypocritical, it's fake, it's fraudulent.
Have had it. So crawl back into your little irrelevant cave. It's time, bro.
Can I address any of that, Piers? Is that allowed?
Sure.
Okay. It is absolutely true that in the 48 hours after the election, a lot of very upset leftists started pulling back from political content. I was hit by it.
No, not from political content, from your political content.
I have to be able to talk about it,
them about everything.
I have to be able to talk. I have to be.
It was only 10,000 subscribers out of David Pakman's like 3 million. And I think it was bots, honestly, because I lost a couple subscribers too. And it's not people that stopped paying attention. I think it's literally just bots that were deactivated, if I had to guess.
Able to get a word in. Unless you just want Dave Rubin to talk. Let me know, Piers.
I love hearing Dave Rubin
I would prefer that.
Thank you, Piers.
No, if there's no rebuttal allowed, then I won't rebut.
You've probably done most of the talking so far, so why don't you do a bit more talking?
I'll say this and then I'll be quiet the rest of the show.
Because Brian hasn't said anything for ages. I want to bring him in.
I want Brian to win. That completely reversed. I do think that it must be that Dave is upset that Brian and I have surpassed him in viewership and subscribers. Because if you just look at the numbers, it lasted 48 hours. They all came back.
I don't even know who this other guy is.
Well, look, if it's going to come to that, I'm the biggest rocket in the room, right? I mean, it's like as Trump said to Kim Jong-un, you got your little rocket, I got my big rocket. So let's not get into the size of each other's YouTube rocket.
But that's the smug nonsense. Nobody cares about that.
It's the facts, Dave.
I honestly have no idea what you're...
How do you support Donald Trump so vigilantly? How do you support Donald Trump to such a sycophantic extent, and then talk about other people being pretentious or like smug, bro? Like, how do you rationalize any of that?
Let me bring in Brian. Let me bring in Brian.
Your views are, but I couldn't care less. I know you're.
And it's not like it's something people don't say about Trump. You don't have to hide it. People like it about Trump. That's something people like about Trump. So acting like that's a criticism of other people just because they are proving you wrong and providing actual sources doesn't really make any sense.
Let me bring in Brian. Let me bring in Brian.
Your views are, but I
make sure you drop a like on the stream, hit subscribe. We're not doing too good in the poll. We have a lot of election deniers in here, probably a lot of kids, Aiden Ross fans, Asmongold. It's okay, though. It's okay.
Couldn't care less. I know your ideas are terrible. Like, I don't care what your views are.
I want to play a clip of Donald Trump at the White House today. He's just met Joe Biden, and this is what happened.
Politics is tough, and it's, in many cases, not a very nice world, but it is a nice world today, and I appreciate very much a transition that's so smooth. It'll be as smooth as it can get, and I very much appreciate that, Jim.
You're welcome.
Now, Dave, I've got to say, kudos to Joe Biden for doing that. Would it not have been better for America if Donald Trump had done that himself 4 years ago? Serious question.
Yeah.
Why didn't the DOJ go after Matt Gaetz? So there's different crimes. So the one that's hard to prove is the sex trafficking. That's really hard to prove because of the nature of tracking all of those transactions. But the one that the ethics committee, the ethics committee was looking at was the underaged, and they testified. And one of the main reasons Matt Gaetz resigned from the House suddenly this week is not because he got appointed, but because they were going to release information on Friday about what they found in these reports. And there are so many testimonies and a lot of different sources of evidence talking about Matt Gaetz's extraordinary lifestyle. That's not in question. We know Matt Gaetz has done really weird things, maybe with campaign funds. But the thing in question is if he committed sex trafficking, and we already have pretty strong testimony from a couple under 18-year-olds, aka minors, also known as minors.
Yeah, I think you can make that argument, but I think we're long past that argument. I would rather focus.
I mean, it's not that big of a jump. Donald Trump himself talked about wanting to have sex with his own daughter, so I don't know if it's really a big deal for Republicans that Matt Gaetz might have done a little bit of freaky stuff.
On what Joe Biden, I think, did right there, and what we now have in a very interesting, 2+ months of the remainder of the Biden administration, where basically Biden, or whatever's left of Biden, or whoever's driving Biden, no longer has to placate to the
Biden is gone, bro. Biden should be kicked back in front of a lake with a tub of ice cream every day. He's got to retire. Biden's got to retire, bro. You see him with Trump? Biden's definitely on something. He was too happy with Trump there. He was smiling his butt off. Biden. It's kind of wild, too, because if Biden would have ran in 2016, they told Hillary to run. Biden's son just died. But if Biden would have ran against Trump in 2016, I don't think people realize, especially with Biden being in good health, I don't think people realize how badly Trump would have lost in 2016. Trump's had the easiest path to the Super Bowl of any team, by far. He's had the easiest path to the presidency of any president. Like, if you really think about who he ran against, and he ran against Joe Biden in 2020, and still lost by 7 million votes to someone who can barely even talk publicly, and who was hiding in his basement most of the election. It's kind of crazy. But I guess Trump got payback because he won the 2024 election while avoiding every interview. Trump ran from Kamala. He ran from debating Kamala for a good 2 months because he got smacked down so bad in the first debate.
Completely lunatic progressive fringe anymore. And Biden actually could take advantage of some of the reordering that we feel throughout the world right now, not just in America, but quite literally across the globe. And he can actually pave the way for a really nice transition into a Trump.
Well, no, it's one of those things where if you are rich and powerful, like if Matt Gaetz is a regular guy, he's probably in prison. But he's a sitting congressman who's very rich, and his family is one of the wealthiest real estate families from Florida. He was born into extreme wealth. Those people, for them to go to prison, they have to mess up. They have to mess up bad for them to get, go to jail or even get fined or sued. Like, they have to mess up bad with all the power and connections they have. There is enough there for Matt Gaetz if he was a regular guy, but of course he has enough money and probably the legal connections to protect him.
Trump presidency that I believe is going to reignite the American dream and bring back an 80s style revolution in America. I think we're going to have a burst throughout the economy. I think it's going to be cultural. I think we're going to get new music and new art and new creativity and new businesses on the forefront of AI and all of these things. And Biden he has 2 months now where he could be like, you know what, we're going to get our 5 or 6 American hostages who are somewhere under Gaza back. We can do that. Like there's a real win for Biden to end up with here, rather than, oh, you ended up with dementia and then ushered in quite literally the worst candidate in American history and placated to the radical left for 4 years when you were sold to us as old, moderate Joe. So Biden.
Kamala only lost by, 1% of the vote? What are the official election results right now? Because I know California was coming in. They keep talking about Trump having a historic win. Yeah, Trump won by... It's likely that Trump's going to win by less than 2%. So it's not like it was a blowout. If Harris is the worst candidate of all time, that's not a very good showing for Trump then. Trump is also... That's kind of wild, though. That's kind of wild. For the past 3 election cycles, we've had some of the worst candidates in American history. If you think about Biden being old, Hillary, Kamala, and Trump 3 times, we've had a bad lineup. This is like when the NBA Finals was the Nuggets versus the Miami Heat. Like, it's not a very eventful time. They're not sending their best.
And again, we don't know if Biden's running the show or it's Jill or whoever, but I think there's a real opportunity for him right now to do the right thing and usher in a really strong 4 years for Donald Trump.
Okay, and David Pakman, the appointments that Trump has put forward so far, Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy will run a new Department of Government Efficiency. I mean, having, the most successful, richest, and possibly smartest guy on the planet getting...
Possibly smartest is insane, bro. The level of writing that people do.
Stuck into government bureaucracy. I would have thought that's very popular, isn't it?
Yo, it's so funny.
Wait, okay. That's another thing, too. They talk about cutting unelected bureaucrats. At least the bureaucrats that are in there in all these different branches, like, trained for these positions. It is their profession. They do their jobs. There's a reason they do their jobs. But Musk and Vivek are unelected bureaucrats. So it's like, okay, interesting. So it's only the ones you don't like. I get it. That's everything on the conservative side, though. There's no principles. It's only what you do like or don't like. There's not really a defining feature to what you believe about many of these things. And you can prove me wrong. Hop in the Discord. We could have a conversation. Drop a like on the stream. Hit subscribe. Thank you for joining me. Join the community Discord if you want to chat with the community. We only have a small community here, but we're growing. Thank you for joining me tonight, talking about some politics. I'll probably stream until like 2:30 a.m. tonight, Eastern time.
For government efficiency, new department when Trump wants to eliminate departments, and instead of being run by one person, it's being run by 2.
But they are going to eliminate, according to Musk, they're going to eliminate.
I just wanted to say
they are going to.
Thank you so much for the super chat. We should really do a liberal versus progressive collab sometime because lefties are sick of liberal loser silencing calls for big change. Bernie was right. I'm in between. Do you know that? I'm in between liberal and progressive. I'd probably consider myself a liberal progressive if you had to ask me for a label. I don't like labels, though. If you want to talk, we can talk sometime, though. We could have discussions about... Unless if you're like a communist, then we're not going to agree. I don't know what you mean by progressive. Do you mean progressive as in FDR? Do you mean TR? Teddy Roosevelt? Do you mean progressive as in Joe Biden's domestic agenda but not his foreign agenda? Do you mean progressive as in Bernie Sanders? You want Medicare for all and like a wealth tax? It depends what kind of progressive you mean.
To eliminate dozens of departments, though. So by the end of the process...
He said he's going to get rid of 300 departments.
They're going to get rid of a lot of departments, David Pakman. So, I mean, that seems to me to be a good thing, doesn't it? Or do you think that they should be...
It's funny because they want to cut departments that make up such a small part of the federal budget. If you look at where the budget actually is, it's like Social Security, Medicare, healthcare funding, defense. And after that, everything is such a small portion of the budget. If they cut like a random program that does like research on stem cells somewhere, that's going to save like 0.00001% of the budget and be a deficit on our GDP because you're cutting valuable resources that are pretty low cost overall. For them to make a dent in the budget, they would need to actually cut things like Social Security and Medicare, which Trump did try cutting Social Security and Medicare. So I guess we'll see if he's successful. If he tries, I don't know if he's going to try. Trump might not even try to do anything. He might not try to do anything because the economy is going to be really strong. And by the way, it's hilarious. Republicans are already saying the economy's better now. It's crazy. They say things are cheaper in a week of Trump winning the election with zero actual change.
A lot of departments, David Pakman. So, I mean, that seems to me to be a good thing, doesn't it? Or do you think that they should be...
Yeah, listen, in his first term, it was not exactly promises made, promises kept. I'm in a reserve judgment to see what happens. And the reason why, and Dave, honestly, I know we're not getting along here. I do like you. I wish we were still friends. I'd love to get our kids together to play soon. Dave Rubin making predictions... is crazy because his predictions always go wrong. Red wave for Republicans in 2018 didn't happen. 30% black vote for Trump in 2020 didn't happen. Republicans get 54 Senate seats in 2022. I've got a list of 30 Rubin predictions. They're always wrong. So I'm going to wait and see. I'm going to wait and see.
I can see why you're looking for new friends.
Well, I was a Bernie bro in 2016. I was probably a Bernie bro until 2020, until like halfway through 2020.
It's back, man. You know,
Sorry, I missed that,
I think
Dave.
Piers can attest to this. You know, being in the business we're in, you're going to get election predictions wrong.
Someone said it's about government overreach. They talk about government efficiency, though. Thank you for the super chat, by the way. If everyone's chatting, I can't really see it. There's a lot of you. So if you can drop $2 for a super chat, if you really want me to respond to a message, feel free. If you drop $2 for a super chat, I really cannot see these messages. They're going very fast. But you need to make actual justifications for cutting programs other than just like, we don't like this. And there's a reason government budgets are set a certain way. So you might see like an order of, you hear the classic, which is not like a real example, but you order nuts and bolts or whatever for $45,000, or they write it off somewhere. That's an issue with how government funding is, appropriated and actually given out, where agencies don't want to lose funding, so they're forced to use it year to year. If we talked about reforms where agencies had a more variable budget, if they had a variable budget, and then they can increase more funding when they need it, decrease it when they don't need it, that'd be great, but it just doesn't work like that, and that's a very hard system to implement. Making things better in government is great, but just removing parts of government because you don't like it, I don't like that thinking. I think you need to have a plan and a reason for doing things, other than just like having a label for it, like, oh, this is Doge. It's a meme name for a reason, bro. It's a meme.
Wrong. I have no problem admitting that. I get election predictions wrong all the time. But when it comes to getting the ideas right, I think I've had a pretty damn good track record on that. And again, you're just illustrating why nobody likes progressives. Your smug, holier-than-thou attitude.
Timo, you're one of the dumbest. I'm sorry. I don't mean to say this. I do not mean this. But you are one of the dumbest consistent commenters on my channel for the past 4 years. I don't know how you find my channel after I stopped doing YouTube for 3 years and came back. I have another stream going up on YouTube Shorts with around 600 or 700 viewers. I mean, they're all leaving now, but you just say the dumbest things on everything I post.
Dude, it's just disgusting to most people. You think you're the savior for people that want nothing to do with you.
And by the way, for the Trump supporters, don't get too excited. That guy's a communist that I'm yelling at. He's a communist. He's not on your side.
And frankly, for all the David Pac-Man subscribers that want to watch a show that actually is informative and funny and interesting and, dare I say, irreverent, I would tune into the Rubin Report.
By the way, when it comes to Trump and the LGBTQ community, can we just remind us, as in fact...
Thank you so much for the $5 super chat, CJ. I think a lot of people need to brush up on basic economics. The president has very little to do with gas and grocery prices. Thank you. And supporting my channel, I'll make sure I keep on saying these truths about the world. Also with gas prices, Republicans are saying it's already better. Like a Fox News host, I hate him. What's that really unfunny guy? I forget his name. But like the really dorky frat guy that makes the bad jokes at night. Waters, is it? I actually don't. Jesse Waters. He said that he said that Trump already lowered gas prices. They did not change. But also, America reached peak energy independence, all-time high energy independence under Biden in 2023. We're drilling more oil than Russia and Saudi Arabia. There was one point when we were doubling the oil production of like Saudi Arabia. But no one knows that because Trump lied to them and said that we need to keep on drill, baby, drill. But yeah, we were drilling this entire time. We kept drilling, baby. Kept drilling. And we had actual investments in green energy at the same time. So people just don't know, bro. They just don't know what's going on because Trump lies to them and they like it. They like being lied to. Please drop a like on the stream, hit subscribe. Thank you for hanging out. We're going to do some more videos. If anyone has any recommendations, let me know on videos to react to. Either drop a super chat or just leave something in Discord, in my Discord. If you're a friend of the channel and you want to be part of the community, go in the community Discord. If you are going to be a troll, go in the call-in Discord.
Why don't we, given it's been quite a contentious panel, Trump has been ending his rallies with the famous YMCA dance, right? Which is a gay anthem performed by a bunch of gay guys, right? And is now taken fire and has now become a trend around the world. Why don't we all come together as one big cis LGBT, whatever you want to call it, community, and have a little dance. Here we go.
This right here, okay, this actually does offend me.
Whatever you want to call it, community.
This one actually does offend me, I'm not gonna
Here we
lie. If you want to offend me, show me this video, because I know these are the most privileged, stuck-up kids the world has ever produced, and a conversation with them would make you want to run to the most rural part of this country, to somewhere with a zero cell phone connection, zero cellular, so you can escape from whatever this is. These kids' parents are paying for them to do this. It's so, oof. Oh, this does get me. This picture does offend me. I'm not gonna lie. If anything offends me, is this right here. They got me. They got me. So RFK has been nominated to lead HHS, Health and Human Services, and Anna Kasparian is showing her very far-right leanings now, apparently. So yeah, she says she's not naive, but she's excited about the potential of a disruptor like RFK in HHS. Do you guys like him? Do you like this guy right here? How do you feel about him?
Side, because guess what? They've never heard your side because you keep it hidden in a cave.
Right. They just assume that we should take their word for it without having to hear, any explanation or having them provide any evidence to basically debunk some of the claims that are being made. So you make a good point there. But Jake, I am not naive, and I know that if he gets confirmed.
That's a reach. Already, that's a reach. I am not naive. Okay, too far right there. Let's see what else she says.
That if he gets confirmed, things could go south. But there's also a possibility that a disruptor in this government agency.
Crazy. There's no reason to say this at all. You'd have to point out to actual things that are wrong with the FDA, bro.
Could be a good thing.
We need a disruptor. This is something you say when you don't think about what you're saying. This is how you sound when you lead with emotions. This is an emotion-based opinion.
Could be a good thing. Because honestly, when I look at the FDA, for instance, there is a lot of corruption with the FDA. And by the way, we should all be asking, why is it that we live in a country that has all these regulations supposedly, but every week you hear about a listeria outbreak?
The issues in America are there's a big lack of regulation in America. That's why Europe doesn't have all these food dyes and fake artificial ingredients and really terrible things for your body. That's why European fast food is healthier, because they regulate everything way more than America does. We need more regulation. We don't need to cut corrupt people out of the FDA. We do need to do that too, to a certain extent, and fix policy on that level. But RFK, being a disruptor and just tearing the FDA apart, does not do anything to help our pursuit of making America healthier in general. We have to make sure we cut out the McDonald's lobby and the fast food lobby and a couple other lobbies as well from that process. And she's going to go into listeria here, listeria outbreaks, which was in McDonald's, and a couple other things.
You hear about a listeria outbreak in our food. You hear
Donald Trump cut the regulations for meat plants. We have 11-year-olds in Arkansas working for meat plants with big, dangerous machinery. 11-year-olds. And also undocumented immigrants, mostly, working these meat plants. And also, the reason we know about these outbreaks, the reason we even know that these outbreaks are occurring, is because the FDA is doing their job. So everything Anna's saying right now makes zero sense. The FDA is the reason we know about this. It's the reason it's able to be reported and shared, and it's the reason that this is taken care of.
Hear about E. coli outbreaks. I mean, it just goes on and on. Food being recalled all the time because of these issues. And it's because of the lack of regulations that the FDA is totally willing to provide cover for. Because
there's no evidence of the FDA. There's no evidence of them providing cover for anything. I don't know what she means by providing cover for.
Because they've got some cozy relationships with industry as well. And so when I read about how, RFK.
But RFK and Trump cut regulations. They cut FDA regulations. They made sure that FDA had less regulations. We've already seen this in 2016. Trump was already president. and he did some of the worst policy around this that you could possibly do. Like, he did the opposite of what Anna's saying right now.
RFK Jr. will be tasked with rooting out corruption within this government agency. That kind of rhetoric excites me, and if they actually carry that out, I mean, that could be.
If they carry what out? What is that? What do you mean by that? I know a bunch of doctors that are scared that he's going to come in and actually ban vaccines, and they're telling people to get their vaccines updated before Trump wins. And if you have any healthcare concerns, get in the doctor's office in case if Trump tries to get rid of the ACA again, because Trump almost got rid of it. Yeah, a lot of doctors and medical professionals are very concerned about RFK being nominated to this position. I'd probably say 99% of doctors are freaking out right now because of what might come down the pipeline as a result of RFK.
A legendary part of Donald Trump's administration. Now, that's if things go well. Okay. Obviously, I am not naive and things could really go poorly. We'll see.
So look, as with the entire Trump administration, it could go very poorly or...
Why are you covering for her, bro? Just kick her out from the show. She's not a good match for the show anymore, bro.
Interestingly positive in some ways, right?
Like you're trying too hard to cover for her at that point. We know he doesn't believe that. Like, we know. We already know his opinions. RFK and Matt Gaetz. Those are my guys. Those are my guys right there.
Welcome to the Daily Show. I am your host.
All right. How's everyone feeling? Feeling good? You're going to drop a like and subscribe. We also have channel memberships available for $2.99 per month. You see the comments. You see what I'm fighting. You see what I'm going against. If you can support that for $2.99 a month, definitely consider. Please consider. Please. Please consider. Please. Please consider. Please help me. I need money, please. I'm broke. I have no job. I have no job. I need a job, bro. Please help.
Let's go ahead and move on to the Democratic side of the ledger here.
Inside billionaire plot to buy the White House. Oh, this is interesting too. College Dems VP, we failed young men.
So, of course, there's been a big conversation about the bros, the young Gen Z men shifting right and backing Donald Trump, and some also just staying home. So to try to understand more of what may be going on there, we're lucky to be joined this morning by Sanjay Muralitharan. He is the vice president of the College Democrats, hoping to give some advice to his Democratic brothers and sisters. Great to see you, Sanjay. Welcome.
Well, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, it's our pleasure. So let's go ahead and just put the numbers up on the screen and get your reaction to some of the shifts that we saw. So young women in 2024, 58% voted for Kamala Harris. That was a
hot take. Not really hot take, but many progressive spaces, ultra progressive, are a little bit hostile to straight white men. I have seen it. We need to fix that. I remember when Bernie Sanders went on Joe Rogan in 2020, and Bernie Sanders got everything thrown at him. The entire media was attacking Bernie Sanders for going on Joe Rogan's show, calling Bernie a sexist, saying that he didn't think a woman could be president. Elizabeth Warren even hopped on saying that Bernie was sexist. So when it comes to men and white men in the Democratic Party, it's not their fault. And I understand why many communities will have a very interesting and adversarial view towards straight white men. But also, you have to understand, as a progressive or as a liberal or anyone on the left, you're giving the right wing exactly what they want when you talk about white men being bad, white men being evil. You're giving them ammunition to radicalize white men to the right. So we need to be welcoming to hear perspectives from all communities, and we can't be hung up on academic terms and and academic phrases. Actual progress and coalition building matters more than being 100% academically correct all the time. And we still need to push further for progressive issues, but obviously right now those issues are losing. So all of you progressive college, higher academia focused individuals, we need to focus on having a democracy in general before we can focus on these higher topic ideas.
The decline from 2020 when 65% voted for Joe Biden with young men. You saw an even steeper decline. You see only 42% of young men voting for Kamala Harris, meaning that Trump won 56%. And that is a total flip from back in 2020 when Joe Biden won 56% of this population. We're talking about men under the age of 29. So what do you see in these numbers? What do you think is going on here?
Well, I think these are largely unsurprising. To put it simply, I think that as Democrats, we failed to directly make the case to young men, and the right has very much successfully exploited, I guess, the struggles of young men. And I guess
Amazing take. Amazing take. Just what I said. A lack of attention to men's issues, and the right is exploiting it. Great take. And if you're a progressive, you should care because you don't want the right to radicalize people away from your movement. Because if more people are in your movement, you can get more progressive things done. Wow, thank you. Thank you.
To truly understand this, we have to take a step back and kind of largely contextualize Gen Z men and just Gen Z as a whole. You know, Gen Z, we're a generation in crisis. 42% of us struggle with depression or anxiety. 73% of us have indicated that we feel alone, sometimes or always in our most formative years. And this mental health epidemic is further exacerbated within, you know, the male populace because it just simply isn't socially acceptable for us to go out and talk to
The left went too extreme with cancel culture, 100% with cancel culture. With LGBT, no. I believe that you're looking at a media landscape that portrays LGBTQA plus communities in the worst way possible. And if you see that media, you're probably going to be against the LGBTQA plus community. You can say LGBT plus. You know, don't buy into that framework. Go and talk to real people. Go and talk to real people. Behemoth. Okay, Behemoth is a troll. He dropped $5. Let's just trans them. Thank you, Behemoth, for dropping that in the chat.
To our buddies about our feelings. You know, we tend to kind of bottle it up, quote unquote, man up. And the result of this is terrible, you know, and I think the right has kind of very much successfully tapped into, you know, these feelings of these like just general like mal sentiments and utilized it in a way that's resulted in their electoral victory.
And why do you think, at least so far, it looks like Kamala Harris failed to inspire a big turnout among voters under the age of 29? Why do you, even compared with Joe Biden, who, by the way, I mean, it's not just Biden's age. Obviously, Bernie Sanders was.
The pandemic was a big driver. I don't know. We had voting lines on college campuses. There were a lot of colleges in like Pennsylvania, for example, with like 5-hour lines to vote. So although the numbers are down, the pandemic was unique. Every state was getting mail-in ballots delivered to like everyone's front doors. I don't know how much you can take from the different campaigns. There is no pandemic happening right now, so that's a big driver for why people would stay home. Yeah, there's a lot of different factors. You can't really put it on one issue, I don't think.
Was able to mobilize a pretty significant chunk of the youth vote. But why do you think the Harris campaign, and I'm curious what you make of the turnout question in general, but why do you think the Harris campaign struggled to get young people even to come out and vote for her?
Well, I think, I mean, it's hard to ignore the elephant in the room of God.
Wait, we don't know the youth voting numbers yet, though. We're not going to know that for a few months. Did Harris really have a huge decrease in young votes versus Biden overall? I'm trying to think. Yeah, we're not going to have concrete data on that for a while. I don't like saying too determinately. We could talk about the issue of like men, but I really don't like all these discussions on exit polling. It's not really real voter data. I don't know.
You know, college Democrats haven't been afraid to take a stand and, you know, actually go up against the Biden administration on this consequential issue. I think there's this common misconception that a lot of these people who are protesting are like, you know, sometimes.
Behemoth, thank you for the $20. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Thank you. There was only one issue. Our candidate wasn't Bernie Sanders. Is that a genuine opinion you have, Behemoth? I do think Democrats running Bernie Sanders would have done a lot better, but Democrats were not at the point of where they are now, where they feel the need to have someone like Bernie with that narrative about the rich. And I don't know if they're going to do it still, but I feel like that's the only place they can really go next. Or at least, like when Kamala talked about Medicare, expanding Medicare, negotiating drug prices, talk about pharmaceutical companies. You can still talk about these select companies and what they're doing wrong and talk about price gouging more aggressively. She talked about price gouging for like a week and then it fell to the back of her campaign. Like, I don't know why they even introduced that. Like, I know people that voted for her just off the price gouging. If she would have talked about that more and been more populist and sounded more popular, that would have really helped her campaign. I'm really disappointed they didn't do that. That's the only thing I don't like about them going more moderate and going the Liz Cheney route. Not because it really hurt being with the Cheneys, but because it took time away, and whatever advisors made them go away from driving up turnout were really dumb. They were never going to get enough moderate Republicans to win the entire election. You could do that for a couple days. She only campaigned with Cheney for 2 days. But yeah, you still need to give a lot to motivate people. Be more aggressive. Be confident. Kamala did not seem confident at one point during this campaign. And as a woman of color, okay, it's a lot harder when you're having all these interest groups pulling you in 50 different directions with a 90-day campaign. And you could blame them for that, for a lot of it. And Kamala's not the best interviewer. I think I said that earlier, but
type of fringe left-wing radicals. But a lot of them are actually college Democrats who are actually civically engaged and care about, elections as a whole. And, if you're not listening to young people across the country who are literally getting beaten, literally getting arrested and pepper sprayed for standing up for global justice, it shouldn't be surprising that they didn't turn out in the numbers that we expected. So I think that's the biggest one. But I also think young people in general, we just want to know whether or not the people at the top care about our futures, right? We're not this kind of
someone said, why does the left blame everyone or everything else for their own failures? Republicans didn't utilize any feelings for the campaign. They listened to the voters. Republicans used 100% vibes, 100% feelings for their campaigns. 100% vibes and feelings. Donald Trump did not propose one concrete policy. He did not propose one concrete policy the entire campaign. No Trump voters I know can name one policy from Donald Trump. There's a debate on my channel versus the Trump supporter. I told him to name one Trump policy, an actual real policy, not just a slogan. Not just concepts of a policy, but real policy. They could not name it. Trump was the vibes candidate. Trump was the anti-SJW candidate. Trump was the white identity politics candidate. That was all emotions and vibes from Donald Trump. Donald Trump did not have any policy. They were the emotions and vibes candidacy. Kamala had actual policy proposals. Expanding Medicare, tax credits, $6,000, tax deductions for small businesses, Medicare for at-home coverage, and also for negotiating more drug prices. And yeah, Kamala actually talked about the policies. She wasn't just scaring people about trans people and immigration. Trump just scared people about trans people and immigration. That's all they relied on was feelings. Every Trump ad was designed to scare people. They did not give actual ads. They said, Trump's going to lower your prices. He never told us how. Trump still has not given one plan. I'm going to lower energy costs by 60%. Oh, what's your plan? Drill, baby, drill. But America's already producing all-time high oil, like our oil production is already all-time high. We're already energy independent. We're more energy independent now than we were for 70 years. It's like, oh, I don't care about that. I don't care about the facts. I care about my feelings.
High up elite.
I live in central Wisconsin. I live in northern Wisconsin. My biggest issue is the southern border.
Each group that cares about culture war issues, we want to know, are we going to be able to afford a house? Are we going to be able to pay for our groceries? Are we going to be able to pay off our student loans? And while Democrats, we have the policies that solve each of these issues, we kind of fail to connect what you guys have referred to earlier in some of your earlier segments as like the laundry list of Democratic policies to our daily lives. And I think failing to make that connection.
Thank you so much for the $10 super chat, CJ. I think Charlie Kirk, Ben Shapiro, and others like them did a lot in changing young people's minds, or young men's minds. I think they took the frustrations and people have the frustrations people have around ultra woke ideology and turned it onto itself. I agree. The only issue is, like, Ben Shapiro did the whole like, oh, I care about facts thing, but he never said facts. Like actual facts. All their facts were like, yeah, you're not a man, you're a woman. You identify as a man. Like those kind of facts. And there was no progressive response because those who held a microphone in progressive spaces were the extremely radical, like gender abolitionist progressives or socialists or communists. And it is true that if you even said anything against that side at all, and you said, like, for example, I don't believe in neopronouns, or I don't like neopronouns, or I think neopronouns don't really make sense, but I'm fully pro-trans, I use any pronoun, but this doesn't seem like the main topic to focus on right now. If you even say that, then a lot of these, institutions did feel kind of hostile. So there was no response to Charlie Kirk or Ben Shapiro. And their ideology is easy. It's just like, you have trouble with women, join our ideology. It's become religious. I see TPUSA organizing all over the place. It's very low barrier to entry. There is no response for liberals at all. to Turning Point USA. There's zero response. There's like Young Democratic Socialists, I think, YDSA, but that's not a response, and they don't have any funding. The Democrats need a response, but it's hard because the Democrats don't have any actual like narrative. You know what I mean? The Democrats need a narrative. They need a progressive. They need like the FDR type narrative again. They're probably going to need to go back to that. Please drop a like on the stream, hit subscribe. Again, I mentioned channel memberships are $2.99 per month. $2.99. Please consider doing that. Really supports my content. Thank you.
Coupled with the fact that the concerns of young people in Gaza were largely ignored, would be the two most predominant reasons why across the board.
Yeah.
Whoa, Egghead, thank you. $4.99. Super chat. What's happening? Apparently, oh, you sent me dopamine. There's a button that sends money and dopamine. Thank you, Egghead. Oof. Oh, I can feel it sourcing through my veins right now. Did you watch where's the chat on the main live? Go on the YouTube Shorts. I could drop the link here. It's just because a bunch of people are swiping through YouTube Shorts all the time, so more people end up watching that. But I'll drop it. I'll drop it.
Yeah, I've been
It's a
thinking,
dangerous
Sanjay,
place,
too,
though. Watch
about
out.
how it's almost like an
There you go.
instinct, or it's like the typical protocol within the Democratic Party to sort of bash their young base.
Oh, I also think Democrats need to be more aggressive, okay? I think Democrats need to have the ability to be like, bro, you're a dumbass. Like, you sound like a dumbass right now. Like, you just sound like a dumbass. Like, that's one of the dumbest things I've ever heard, bro. But in like an endearing way, you know? Like, Trump trash talks. People like it. You gotta be able to trash talk a little bit. You gotta be cool a little bit, you know? You gotta use a microphone pretty well. We need someone else who's really good with a microphone. Who has that cross-generational appeal, because politics is largely a performance. Donald Trump proved that because he still has no idea what's happening. Donald Trump describing anything is crazy, bro. This is the biggest ever, the biggest. I love the big things. It's huge, ginormous. It's gonna be bigger under me. They say Trump does it better. They say Trump does it better, and Trump does do it better. I always hear this. Everyone's saying this. Everyone's saying I did it so well, so cheap. Drill, baby, drill.
Post-Obama 2008, and even Obama after 2008 kind of, made a point of punching left and, like...
Bro, I gotta find a job, bro, that's like the president, that's like Donald Trump. If someone says something hard to me, like they ask me a tough question, I get to just say you're stupid and walk away. Bro, like, that's crazy. That's actually insane. Do you know... Do you know how crazy it really is that Republicans have made it badass to be dumb? Like, if someone like Donald Trump, Republicans have made it cool to them for Donald Trump to call the interviewer stupid if he doesn't like the question. He can run away from the interviewer. He doesn't even answer the question. He goes on Twitter and cries about it all night. And Republicans have turned that into macho, masculine energy somehow. It's so amazing. Like, unironically, being able to sell that as masculine and macho when you're hiding, including hiding from debating Kamala again, after getting smacked down so brutally that you ran away from any other debate, even on Fox News. Bro, Republicans made that manly. I think the left needs to talk about discipline again, bro. Discipline. Go watch The Karate Kid or Rocky or something. Talk about discipline, because just punching holes in walls isn't being a man. Having discipline, knowing when to use your strength, knowing when to organize, knowing when to be a leader. You should be a leader. Donald Trump wants to be a ruler. Donald Trump wants to be a king because he's a weak leader. That's why he got nothing done in Congress. That's why Biden got everything done in Congress. Everything. Because Biden's a man.
Hippie punching, which often ends up being the young, idealistic activists who bear the brunt of that. But, it's clear for me, in particular, with the response to the Bernie Sanders movement, which was largely a youth movement. And that was 8 years ago. So some of the people who were big Bernie Sanders supporters aren't under that age of 30 anymore. But it's indicative of the way that the Democratic Party tends.
Yeah, I agree, though. I agree. I agree with the sentiment. You'll hear Bernie say, like, okay, the rich are causing an issue. You'll hear Trump say, Trump will say that immigrants are causing an issue. But you'll never hear liberals. Liberals never have an enemy. Like Kamala or Biden or even Obama. Like, I couldn't imagine them just, like, calling out rich people. Like, the billionaires are extorting the system. Like, I just couldn't imagine them even making that appeal. And it's not even about believing that, you know? Because, oh no, Stephen A. Smith is still talking about politics.
Welcome back to the Stephen A. Smith Show.
More fallout from.
Whoa. Why is everyone's a political commentator now? Every single person is a political commentator. If you really look down everyone's pages right now on YouTube, everyone commentates on politics. Literally everyone. Like, it's such a hot topic, bro. I get it, but do I want to? Okay.
This is a very interesting topic for me, and I find it to be extremely compelling because obviously, like, I've been on the internet now for like, I'm 30.
That might not be worth it. Let's see what they're saying. Bernie is the one person who actually cares about us. But it's not even about believing it, because Donald Trump pretended to be working class. He cosplayed working class. It's about just selling that idea. Even if you're a politician who's just talking about trying to win elections, it's a smart strategy. Like, obviously, Elon Musk and Donald Trump don't understand working class people, but they put on that show because they know it'll help them win elections. Why can't Democrats do that? Because we know Democrats care about winning elections. Even the most self-serving Democrats should be talking about that. Yeah, I don't know.
This is a very interesting topic for me, and I find it to be extremely compelling because obviously, like, I've been on the internet now for like, I'm 34. I've been on the internet for 25 years. I got the internet in like 1999, I think. It might have been 2000, somewhere around there. And I've been on the internet plugged in as long as I possibly could be. Like, I remember, you know, you couldn't, you know, like the AOL CDs. I remember all of this stuff. And so I've seen how all of this has evolved.
Shane, I said, why can't Dems lie to their voters? Because of a messaging strategy. And I only said that because Donald Trump does lie to his voters. Did you hear the words I said? Did that compute to you? That Elon Musk and Donald Trump don't understand the working class, but they cosplay it. What I'm saying is, any politician who wants to win elections, you would think they'd borrow that rhetoric to at least pretend like they understand the working class, or at least pretend like they're mad about rich people. Because all the billionaires supporting Trump's campaign, Trump got 80% of billionaire donations. They all understand it. But the liberal billionaires get offended if liberals talk about billionaires.
Over the years. And I think it's an incredibly interesting way to look at things. I remember, like, I was looking up stuff for like N64 and Super Nintendo games on my, you know, on my computer and on the school computers on the internet. I was looking it up on Google and I'm like, wow, this website has everything. So yeah, for me, this is extremely interesting because, like, I've seen this happening ever since its genesis 25 years ago. And then you saw, like, you know, commentary stuff happening probably in like the mid 2000s.
When I woke up this morning, we had lost 5,000 YouTube subscribers.
Wow.
Compared to where we were last night. Now, the first thing I thought was,
let's take a look at that. Ooh, it's minus 10,000.
Is this a glitch?
Mm-hmm.
We've been on YouTube for 15 years or something like that. And subscribers always just go up. They just never go down. They go up. Is something wrong with my...
I don't know if anyone has any examples of what I should watch. I really don't care.
My favorite thing that they ever said was, you know, yeah, we are going to be pivoting from the coal industry and you're all going to be losing your jobs, but we are going to send you to computer science school.
That was crazy messaging, bro. That's what I mean, though. That's what I mean. Why can't Democrats sound more working class? They can just, like, do research on it. They could just Google what people, or just, like, visit a working class community and just learn how they talk. Donald Trump doesn't talk working class, by the way. He just talks very angrily about immigrants and trans people. And working class people relate to that because a lot of working class people have pretty regressive social views. But why can't Democrats, they talk about going from coal mines to computer science. You can easily talk about clean energy jobs from coal mines. Coal mining is the most dangerous energy and the most expensive energy. Coal is not good. Like, coal's bad for so many reasons. And the fact Democrats came out instantly and were just like, yeah, well, we could teach you computer science. It's like, bro, you're so out of touch. It's insane.
So it's really a wash.
Come on.
Hello, everybody. Welcome once again to another episode of The Weekly Show. My name is Jon Stewart, and we are...
I don't want Democrats to lie, because Democrats produce more for the working middle class than Trump ever did. I want Democrats to message more effectively and message better. Because if Donald Trump and Elon Musk, two of the most out-of-touch people in American history, can cosplay working class, then anyone should be able to. Anyone should be able to. And I love how you're just ignoring that I'm saying Trump is one of the biggest liars and cosplayers in history. You're just ignoring that I keep saying that. You're like, oh, you're saying Democrats should lie. I'm saying no, Trump lies. Democrats should be able to be genuine. Democrats should be able to sound genuine. Drop a like on the stream, hit subscribe. Thank you for joining.
How many days in are we to the new era of
Bro, someone said if they were really pro-working class, they'd be pro-tariff. Oh, pain. They'd be pro-tariff if they were pro-working class. Yeah, yep.
America? Do I have to say it now, always with a question mark? We are now, oh God, it's only been a fucking week. That cannot be possible. I hesitate to say it because it's been a week where like the faint taste of like a shit taco has been in my mouth for like a week. And I don't think that's, by the way, it probably should taste like that. You should feel this discomfort. I just wish the discomfort wasn't always.
How many days until Trump's president? 70 days? 69 days? Are we officially 69 days from Trump taking the Oval Office again?
Present. I feel like I have tried this week very much to just go about my normal Knicks box score obsessing or those types of things. But there is this faint discomfort that is always in the background of my mind of this moment slipping away from us and the country. I'm hoping that dull hum slightly goes away because I find it very distracting that I'm constantly checking Twitter to be like, oh my God, he nominated Brian Kilmeade to run commerce? Like, what are we doing here, people? But
every single one of the worst economic crises, is it crises or crises? Whatever. The worst economic crisis is whatever. Every modern crisis was met with huge tariffs, or tariffs caused them. So the Gilded Age, tons of tariffs. During the Great Depression, every one of our every economic indicator says across the board tariffs is bad.
But I don't want to also lose the discomfort, because the discomfort is an incentive. It is incentive to think about how to reverse, how to change this, how to improve upon outcomes that I would prefer. If it didn't taste like a shit, it should taste bad. It shouldn't be something that leaves our collective souls immediately, that we wear so lightly, like perhaps a windbreaker. I didn't really know where I was going with the metaphor, so I'm going to go with a light jacket because it's fall and because I lack imagination, and so I'm unable to come up with metaphor.
Less they say less talking, or no, less politics, more gym. LOL, he's never had a girlfriend. You're right. I've never had a girlfriend. And I'm not athletic at all. I'm not athletic and I've never had a girlfriend. I hope you're having a good day, buddy. Not athletic. No way. I would never be athletic, bro. How could I? How could I, bro? You should put my medals around your neck. You'll probably break it, bro. Better watch out. I'll dunk on you. Don't be in the paint. 2 feet in the paint. Better watch out, bro. I'll be dunking. 1 hand, 2 hands, whatever you need. However you're going to take it, bro. I'm going to dunk on you. Dunk on you, baby. Teabag you.
Force other than literally what I was wearing this morning. That's how sad I am. I'm an old man who no longer has the imagination to get the taste of a shit taco out of his mouth. Action is the antidote to anxiety. And action is creating forward momentum whether it be through discussion or action.
The president is not a dictator. The president is ruled by the government. A government ruled by the people comprising and the rest of the nation. People change things. Presidents don't. The issue is when you have Trump, who is so unanimously powerful, and Republican politicians will listen to him on anything, and the Supreme Court will listen on anything, and checks and balances are gone. The federal government supports so much of what every state does. People don't realize what would happen if the federal government disappeared. They don't realize how many programs are supported by a strong federal government and all these bureaucrats that they say do no job. Because they don't understand that these jobs, the reason people are in these positions is because they can be trusted to do important jobs. And all the people in the comments right now are going to be like, oh, the liberals don't do work. They don't do work. All the union workers don't work, bro. They're going to be they cry too much, the liberals. And it's like, bro, you cannot handle the emotional toll of saying a pronoun out loud, bro. You cannot say a pronoun. You cannot handle saying a pronoun. There's a reason you're not working in the federal government. You cannot handle a pronoun. You can't handle tough conversations. But yeah, people don't realize how much would actually go wrong if the federal government was like completely removed and if Trump really was able to gut so many agencies.
About what it is you would rather see in this country. And to that end, I think we have a great guest for that today. I'm so excited to speak with her. I've heard her on a numerous amount of different podcasts. I'm gonna get to that now. So we're gonna bring on our guest. Her name is Sarah Smarsh. She's a journalist. She's the author of Bone of the Bone, Essays on America by...
Oh, it is about saying pronouns. You can't say pronouns. You cry, bro. You cry if you say pronouns. Don't even say pronoun. You can't pronounce a pronoun, bro. You got no nouns. It's not even that profound, but you always go down. It's really just a hoedown when you...
By a daughter of the working class. And I would imagine, Sarah, first of all, thank you so much for joining us. I would imagine in this election in particular...
What kind of bike do you have? I've got a giant Contend SL2 disc. Getting a new one when I get back from Iraq. I hope you're doing well, Big R. Thank you so much for the $5 donation. I actually just sold my bike because I haven't ridden in too long, and I sold it. But I had a giant Revolt 2. It was a hybrid gravel bike. I had the blue one. Yeah, it was giant Revolt 2 gravel bike, and you could interchange the tires with road tires too. I did like a 80-mile ride, but I did not do my century ride because I want to do 100 miles eventually. But I am doing like marathon training now, so I'm working up to a marathon. I'm trying to get back into pickup basketball, but that's a little bit harder on your joints. If you do marathon training and pick up basketball and you hop in again when you're not ready for it, when your body's not ready, then you're gonna probably injure something. So I got to take my time. But yeah, I'll probably wait to do a lot of biking till I'm a little bit older. Once I make big bucks on YouTube, you know. Thank you all for hanging out. Please hit subscribe and drop a like. And thank you again for the super chats, everyone that dropped one.
Particular, as Democrats struggle to understand the alien creature that is the white.
I mean, I agree, Carbon, that more people need to vote in local elections, 100%. But right now, the issue is we're not going to have like a full governmental system under Trump. So even if we have policies from the local level to county to state, that state policy cannot go federal, and that advocacy is limited. And a lot of state policy is possible because of federal funds and federal programs. A lot of state workers are there and actually working, and these programs and grants are possible because of federal funds. So when that's cut off, everything else is really difficult. But I do agree, like right now, it's time to organize in your own community. Like get to know people. Like I think AOC was saying that. Like know your neighbor, know who's living next to you, like make friends, make sure everyone understands like who everyone is. We're too isolated now. We're too on our phones. We're on YouTube short live streams like all these Trumpies are, calling people soy boys all night. Like we gotta get some sleep, wake up, and go in our communities and learn about real issues. But that's another huge data drop as well. People that pay attention to politics a lot and are very informed voted for Harris a 55 to 45 margin. People that don't pay attention to politics at all, so they only vote for president, they don't do any research, they voted Trump on like a 30 to 70 margin, or a 70-30 margin. So low information voters that don't do any work to actually look up anything about politics, and voters that don't vote in local elections, those voters that don't vote in actual local elections and politics are more likely to vote for someone like Trump over like a Democrat or a progressive, which is really interesting.
Working class.
AOC removed her pronouns. Oh no, what do I call her?
Voter, that you are seen as the Rosetta Stone. Do you find right now that people are looking to you?
Thank you for the $5 super chat. Kamala had more billionaires fund her campaign. She also received more dark money from super PACs than Trump. Sources, sludge, open secrets. I'd have to verify those numbers again. I haven't seen the updated numbers. I do know that Trump got the highest donations from individual billionaires by far, like Elon Musk, Adelson. Because Trump got, out of Trump's 10 top billionaire donors, it was like 10 billionaires donated a total of like $900 million. So he had the biggest concentrated, and those people are getting like favors in the cabinet. That's why like Elon Musk is basically co-president now, and Musk donated a lot of free media with X. I'd probably say that the free media Musk gave Trump with X alone probably amounted to like $1 billion or maybe like 500 million. Like Musk was able to give him a lot through the boosting on X and Twitter, X/Twitter.
You for answers in this confusing world of the rural voter.
First, thanks for having me, John. And
oh no, the confusing world of the rural voter. Okay.
Confusing world of the rural voter.
First, thanks for having me, John. And yes, I do find I'm getting a lot of calls right now. That's been true to some extent for some time through the current political era. But this really feels like a moment when maybe my message about class and the way that we need to center it and discuss it as an identity unto itself is really critical right now.
Man, Jon Stewart has such good guests, bro. Talking about class as an identity and combining that into our intersectional analysis. Bro, that's fantastic. That's what we need. I know everyone in chat's probably thinking, wow, that's gay, whatever you just said. But let me tell you, it makes a lot of sense. And if you follow my channel, you'll find out why it makes sense, okay? Make sure you drop a like and subscribe. Join this community. Pragmatic progressivism. It's not even progressivism. It's just coming together to talk about what's happening in the real world, finding tools and different ways to analyze it. And if you disagree, that's fine. I want some people that disagree. If you're a 12-year-old troll, don't. If you're just going to spam, don't follow my channel. But if you're going to have open, honest conversations and really consider other viewpoints, I want people who disagree. I want callers to come in and debate every once in a while. So thank you for joining me. Let's have a good conversation, a good discussion on rural voters. I want to hear her perspective. I think she seems really smart.
So yeah, I'm happy to be here to talk about it.
Well, I'm delighted that you could join us. You know, I have my theories about the election. It's interesting. You mentioned just now class as an identity, which is, you know, I always view the world as we have, you know, everything is sort of at some level intersecting between class, race, gender, and religion. You know, you sort of have the four horsemen of the Shitopolis. Yeah, that creates all those things. But at its core, my kind of feeling about the election is there is a broad swath across gender, race, class, religion that believe that government is no longer particularly responsive to the needs of the people. And if your message is this election is about saving this system, but even amongst these wide variety of groups, people feel that the system is not particularly has any efficacy.
Oh no, stupid liberal moment. Stupid liberal moment, I didn't unmute. I would understand saying that we need to defend the system wouldn't be motivating enough to voters. Like they don't feel strongly about defending the system. But as far as the system not performing and not doing well, it's very clear in the polling. People who were able to answer questions correctly about the economy and people who paid attention to politics and government, and if they read news sources that were like newspapers and actual journalists that are on the ground doing real reporting, those people went Harris and Democrats at a very large margin. And people that don't pay attention to politics went Trump. So I think it's, you know, not believing the government can do good things. People that pay attention to what the government does did believe it was worth saving or protecting. Thank you so much for the $10 super chat. In the last 50 years, no Republican has been good for the economy, but tariffs increasing the cost of goods by 20% and deporting people who contribute billions to the economy. The F? What are we, dumb? Also, too, just about undocumented people. Another thing I realized talking to Trump supporters, they don't know, like I just said, they don't know that much about politics. They don't, even if they did, they don't really know what's happening. And that's not saying they're dumb. They just don't. They're being lied to by propaganda. They follow media sources that lie to them. They get all their news from the Joe Rogan podcast. But I know a couple Trump supporters who said, for example, for immigration, like, oh, if they're here and working already and they're not committing any crimes and like they're just raising their families here, they pay taxes, they go to work, why not just give them a path to citizenship? And I'm like, yeah, I agree. That was Kamala's policy. Her policy was pass the border bill, expand amnesty, be able to handle more capacity, have an actual number where they shut the border down, and increase overall our ability to handle the border. And Trump wanted to give a path to citizenship. Or Kamala wanted to give a path to citizenship. And the Trump supporters I talked to, they have no idea. They have zero idea that Trump is anti-Affordable Care Act. They have zero idea, because he lied about it and no one held him accountable. They have zero idea that Trump wants to deport all undocumented immigrants. Like, Trump supporters think he's talking about like these violent criminal rapists or whatever, but they do not know he wants to deport all of them by force and separate families, like innocent families that are just contributing to communities, some who may be their neighbors. And they also don't know that Trump's administration is pushing for denaturalization. They just don't know this is happening. So they really did not vote for, like, the worst form of Donald Trump you can think of. Trump supporters did not vote for that person. They were sold a different opinion of what Donald Trump was. And you can argue what reason that was, maybe predetermined bias, a couple other social factors. And, you know, January 6th was a thing that no one cared about, that very few people cared about. But still, people did not vote for who Trump actually is. They voted for who they were told Trump is by the media they consume. Thank you for watching. Please drop a like on the stream, hit subscribe. Really beneficial to the channel growth. I stream around 10 p.m. or 11 p.m. every night. So yeah, definitely feel free to join me. 10 p.m., 11 p.m. until usually 1 or 2 a.m.
Efficacy. Does that cut across all of those different identities? And how does it impact the class identity, maybe even the most strongly?
Well, I think we've been in a burn it down moment.
Saying deport them all, I'm sorry, but deportation as the price for illegal entry is very stupid. Actually, if you're looking for asylum, you can illegally enter a country illegally. It's not illegal to enter a country. Like under the actual laws, you can enter a country and have an asylum claim. It's not illegal. But also, that's just dumb. The idea that, you know, you're inherently assigning something evil to people, or saying that they're violent, or saying that they're bad for America, when these are tax-paying neighbors who are raising kids, who are fleeing from very bad situations, who are contributing to this country, working some of the worst jobs imaginable. Just saying deport them all is stupid. It's just really dumb. It's a dumb opinion. Like, you really need to evaluate that, because it's a beta. It's a weak opinion. Only very weak people believe that. Weak, small, scared people believe that. And I don't want you to be a weak, small, or scared person. I want you to think about humans and respect humanity. But yeah, thank you for that comment. And thank you for the super chats.
For some time,
Right.
several election cycles. 2020 might have been somewhat of an anomaly. Biden, of course, won that general. And here we are again with Trump. I will say, going back to 2016, you know, I felt it profoundly on the ground, even in places like rural Kansas, that a Democratic Socialist from Vermont was sure getting a lot of traction, and actually built an incredible coalition, almost got the nomination more than once, in fact. So that sort of anger, rage, you know, that's just been kind of on broil at ground level across, as you say, all sorts of identity markers. I do believe has a lot to do with class and the way that, as you say, it intersects with race, it intersects with gender, but it is an experience that every one of us has and contains. And if you're on the losing end of that power structure, that continuum, and far more people are on the losing end than not, of course, then
It's really weird though, because I heard a lot of people from, oh, thank you so much. We have a new channel member. Thank you so much, Pitchforks. Thank you for supporting the channel. Yeah, I always say thank you to everyone supporting, but thank you so much for signing up for a membership. It really supports me doing this every night. It makes it easier to deal with all the comments that you're seeing. If you put it on live chat, the live chat is very scary. It's a very dangerous place in there. But it's really weird in these areas that Bernie was popular at, in like Indiana and Kansas, because when people think about these different like politicians and their policies, especially Christians that are very Christian, because they read the Bible and they see that they are supposed to be very pro-immigrant and also very pro-poor and also very pro the other, the blind man, giving sight to the blind, respecting even those who are cast away from society. But then they have this really strong opinion about abortion. So I knew many people who were very big Bernie fans, but they said, oh, Bernie supports abortion, so I cannot support Bernie now. So Bernie Sanders had this appeal, this populist appeal, but that one abortion issue shut down so many conservatives that I knew that did like him. But there is a sense that people want to tax the rich more and hold elites accountable. Actual elites, the mega wealthy. And now with the Trump administration, we're going to get the opposite, because Trump used the social issues to get in office, and he's going to give away a bunch of benefits to the elites now.
And to your point, indeed, saying we're now defending these structures that have had you and your family hurting for some generations is maybe a losing messaging strategy.
So let's talk about that. That's a.
Oh, I missed the super chat in the other stream too. I don't mean to pause. I want to let her talk a little bit. She seems really smart. But thank you again for the $5 super chat. I'll defend Trump's immigration policies if you ever want to talk. Maybe. Yeah, we could talk tomorrow. It's too late to do a debate. I'm too tired now. I'm gonna finish out this video probably and hop off. But yeah, we could talk sometime about different immigration policies for different on different levels.
It's a great place to start, because it's this idea that we're defending these structures. So what?
I mean, I don't know what Trump's immigration policy actually is, like Donald Trump's. Because I've never heard Trump or anyone in his administration talk about amnesty. They just talked about child separation and deportation. There was no conversation on how to expand amnesty. I'm pretty sure they're not interested in providing support for amnesty or asylum seekers. But yeah, I would love to hear if Trump's actually going to have a plan for legal immigration other than just like rich immigrants. Because it seems like with the neo-Nazis in the cabinet, like Stephen Miller, which Stephen Miller is an actual neo-Nazi, the policy is going to be a little bit weird.
So let's talk about that. That's a great place to start, because it's this idea that we're defending these structures. So what in these structures?
By the way, I'm not calling Trump supporters neo-Nazis or Trump, but Stephen Miller is like openly, and Steve Bannon too, they're white nationalists. So it doesn't matter that he's Jewish. He's still a neo-Nazi. He's still a white nationalist. It doesn't matter that he's Jewish. Okay, this is the issue with talking about Hitler, okay? Because people hear Hitler and they hear, oh, you need to be anti-Jewish to be a white nationalist authoritarian. No, you don't. You have to look up Judeo-Christianity. Like Huckabee is going to be the ambassador to Israel. He believes that Jewish people need to occupy all of the Holy Land because of some biblical end time scenario. Judeo-Christianity is a thing, and white nationalism can come off of that. There's a reason they still have Nazi flags up with Confederate flags, with American flags on the Trump supporting boats. Just because you could still have members of these identity groups be a part of these violent identity groups, be a part of these anti-democracy groups. They're anti-democracy. The biggest defining feature of Hitler was not just being anti-Jewish, by the way. Like, he killed the socialists and the scholars. He killed the doctors. He killed academia. He killed any academics. He killed the media. He killed all of them before getting to the Jewish people. The defining characteristics of Hitler was demonizing immigrants in general, and demonizing the media, and demonizing intellectuals and anyone that would stand against him. You have to kill political dissidents first. That's the first goal. But everyone's like, oh, Hitler needs to be, you got to be doing whatever to the Jews. And it's like, no, there's more defining features and characteristics to authoritarian regimes other than just their identities. Please drop a like and subscribe. Thank you.
Place to start, because it's this idea that we're defending these structures. So what in these structures isn't delivering? What part of these structures? What is, let's look at the chasm between need and servicing those needs. What isn't being delivered?
I think a way to kind of look at this in very specific terms would be the Gulf.
Okay, I'm gonna let her talk after this, but I got another super chat, so I'm obligated. Thank you so much for $5 again. I really appreciate it. One of the smaller policies Trump proposed was green cards for non-citizens who graduated from an American university. I would prefer. I don't know, man. If you're in good, I mean, it's not a bad thing, but I don't know what the exact policy is he's talking about now. But if you're in good standing as an upstanding member of an American community and you're working and paying taxes and you have kids and your family's here, I would rather just give that family support regardless if they have a university education or not. Working class people should be supported too. But yeah, that's why I like Minnesota, for example. Minnesota allowed undocumented immigrants or undocumented people to get driver's licenses. And everyone's like, oh, you want them to drive now? And it's like, yeah, because they're driving. They need licenses to drive to work. Like they're driving to work in Minnesota. That's why they passed that law.
What isn't being delivered?
I think a way to...
But it depends. And okay, I want to let her talk. I'm sorry. It depends if you look at immigrants as an inherent strain on the nation and a bad thing, or if you look at immigration as like people. Like if you look at immigrants as people, then these policies make sense about like the driver's license. But if you think that immigrants are like animals and dangerous killers, then of course you're going to be against policies like that.
Servicing those needs. What isn't being delivered?
I think a way to kind of look at this in very specific terms would be the gulf between the message that the economy is actually great, dummy.
Are you saying that doesn't work?
You must not have read the latest report about the GDP. Most Americans don't own stocks. Sure, right. You can say inflation has slowed down and there have been economic gains in all sorts of ways.
Right.
But for the average underpaid American, it's not even just about prices. It's also about or spending. That's a measure that economists love to trot out. You might be buying all your groceries and your consumer goods with a credit card. I didn't hear a lot of talk about debt. Most of the working class and working poor Americans I know hold profoundly disturbing amounts of debt, be it credit card, medical. I will say the Biden administration did talk about medical debt a little bit. Maybe they could have led with that. I think that might have helped. But
that would have been a great policy, talking about medical debt. That should be forefront. The big costs for people are housing, healthcare, and childcare. Those are the three things to focus on. Grocery prices and gas prices are probably the least controllable thing from a president. Democrats need to go hard on housing, healthcare, and childcare. Paid family medical leave, national. Go run on that. Run on it. Run on that right now. Okay. Expanding Medicare cover at-home costs. Expanding Medicare in general. Run on that. Go hard. Eliminating medical debt. Eliminate medical debt for people who why would you be in $1 million in debt if you get cancer? That's not fair. That's not cool. Do you think poor people have a right to a first world country? I think that America being dominant on the world stage is because we were able to be a melting pot for different cultures. And we're the only country at this size that's able to operate as a diverse representative democracy or a republic without being an authoritarian dictatorship so far. We'll see how that goes. But America and the American experiment with immigration has been amazing. And that's one of our biggest benefits, actually, is our ability to handle immigration and different cultures in one place. That's one of the most impressive things about America and American history. We should take pride in that. That's American values right there. American values is accepting outsiders. Christian values. Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior, told us we should be accepting those. I mean, unless if you don't care about Christian values, then different religions also have values with respecting the poor and helping other humans, and also protecting the earth, by the way. Stewards of the earth. I don't know why you want to drill oil when you don't need to a certain extent. We still need to, but we should be getting off it if we can, if it's possible. We should be taking care of the earth in general. Less litter, less waste, less overconsumption. Jesus told us, man. Come on.
There's
rather than GDP? You really don't think GDP was...
Right, yeah. So people are hurting. And if you're looking at in the face and saying, actually, you're not, in whether that's a move to kind of defend your own administration that, of course, the Democratic candidate was part of. And that's a very difficult to thread that needle, the task she was handed to kind of propose how we'll change, but also still be riding with the last administration. But
you were about to say riding with Biden. I think you were about to go for a rhyme there, Sarah.
But most people are hurting. And here's the thing, because I know that a lot of liberals and Democrats and progressives alike might be saying, but you're saying all that, and the Democrats have the better policies. They address all of those needs better, even if imperfectly. In the end, ain't the Republicans worse? And while I happen to agree with that, here's the trick. The Republicans, meanwhile, are the ones validating the pain. And politics is an emotional business before.
I'm muted. Thank you. I'm glad she's saying this too, because politics is emotional. It's an emotional business. You need to understand that. Democrats need to understand that. Why don't they get it, bro? Democrats, why? Democrats,
for a
please.
while, are the ones validating the pain. And politics is an emotional business before it's a rational one, and that's why they win.
That is
That's
incredibly.
100% true. I keep saying that too. It's the emotions campaign. Trump was the emotional campaign. They had touch with the emotion in America, even if it wasn't even if it was not genuine at all. Even if their policies are terrible for Americans, the median voter is not swayed by logic or rationale, or like policy discussions. The median voter is swayed by who they feel like is going to fight for them or who they feel more comfortable with. And perhaps they were just anti-incumbent as well, because inflation was high globally, and incumbent parties lost ground in every election globally too. So whoever was in office the past 3 years got blamed for the inflation crisis. So although Biden handled it more effectively than any country globally, he still got all the blame for it, because he still was in office when it was happening. Biden did a good job putting the fire out, but he still got blamed for setting the fire that he did not actually set. But yeah. They should have ran on taxing the rich. They really should have. They should have ran Bernie. They should have ran Bernie.
Really interesting to me. It's this, because I'll agree with you. I have sort of a disconnect, and actually not even necessarily, the Democrats are better, because I do think Democrats have bought into, I guess, what they would call neoliberalism to a large extent. And, as you were talking, I was thinking, this is a much larger conversation about, since Reagan probably, we've kind of moved into this investment economy, that investment and capital, money, means more than work. Labor is devalued and investment is king. And administrations, Republican and Democratic, you mentioned Bernie Sanders. I think he was one of the few that kind of bucked that trend. But it does feel as...
According to every fact and point of logic, Biden handled the inflation crisis in America better than any country handled it. Our economic recovery was better than any other country in the world in America. Our gas prices, the lowest of any first world free country. I've heard people bring up Saudi Arabia, where no one's allowed to drive, and it's cheap for other reasons. But in first world free countries, cheapest gas, we had the best recovery from COVID. Our real wages went up more than any other country. So globally, because we faced a global economic crisis and a global pandemic, America recovered by every metric better than other countries. Are there still issues? Yes. But you're blaming Biden for a problem he didn't create and not giving him any credit for the solutions that they proposed and actually put in action. And his ability to get the laws actually passed through Congress. American manufacturing tripled under Biden versus Trump. Tripled. American infrastructure spending quadrupled under Biden versus Trump. These are undisputable facts. Donald Trump said Infrastructure Week was going to come every other week. Biden actually got those things done. You don't have to agree with everything, but you can at least agree that those numbers are true. Those numbers are true. You can have a different reason for them being true, which, we have laws like the CHIPS and Science Act, American Rescue Plan, the Bipartisan Infrastructure Plan. We have actual laws to tie them to, but you can't disagree. Those are facts, okay? Like Ben Shapiro, I miss Ben Shapiro conservatives that at least pretended to care about facts. At least with Ben Shapiro, you were like, yeah, we care about facts and logic. Now it's just okay, I like Trump. That's your only argument. Your argument now is just you like Trump and that's it. It's so sad. I miss the Ben Shapiro days now. Drop a like and subscribe, please. Thank you. Thank you for joining me tonight. We do this every night, 10 p.m., 11 p.m. We hang out, we talk, watch a couple of videos, react to the political times. But yeah, thank you for joining me.
As though since Reagan, we have devalued labor. And both parties, policy or otherwise, seem to agree that this idea of capital and investment having primacy is a winning one, economically. Would that?
Yeah, economically neoliberalism. So Democrats might need to decide to go against that. We have all-time high wealth concentration in the top 1%. Democrats might need to bite the bullet and say, hey, we are anti this. We are going to advocate for a wealth tax. We're going to advocate to go the opposite direction. We're going to reject Reaganomics now. We're going to go back to supporting working class people, actually getting dignity back and power in our system, because there's too much money in the hands of very few. But it might be too late. I don't know. When you have Elon Musk and Peter Thiel and people who are the richest men alive, the richest people in history, are now in the White House, and they paid their way in through a puppet candidate in Trump. So we have shadow presidents. So hopefully we still have a chance to right the ship, but I don't know what it's going to look like. It's going to be pretty wild in the next few months to a year. But yeah, thank you for liking the stream. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for hanging out. Having a good time with y'all. Having a good old time. Thank you all for all the super chats as well. And thank you for the channel memberships. Channel memberships are $2.99. Even if you just pop in here every now and then, channel membership for $2.99 really supports the channel. It might be too late, pitchforks. I like the laughing emoji. But yeah, $2.99 to support the channel. You can see the chat, what we're arguing against. I'll be here arguing for the facts. But members and donations always help a lot, supporting the work that I'm doing. But yeah, pitchforks. I'm really hoping it's not too late, but we'll see. We will see. The American public is not on Trump's side. Okay, they did not vote for who he is. They did not vote for anything. So they will turn quickly, but we have to hope there's still elections. We have to hope there's still free and fair elections. If there's still elections, Republicans are going to lose big time. But there's no indication that Trump cares about government at all. Like it seems like he wants to govern as an authoritarian dictator. Obviously, that's what he's been saying for years, for 8 years. But now Republicans, it depends. We're relying on a couple of Republicans to stand up to him when he tries to do his authoritarian stuff. So we'll see which Republicans actually hold strong. And I'm assuming that any Republican that just follows, any Republican that falls in line with whatever Trump wants, I'm going to assume they have dirt on them. They have some like secret videos or something they're going to reveal. That's why they fall. That's why they're going to like be in the Trump cult. I just have to assume there's some type of dirt out there. Or they just really care about power and that's it. And they're spineless. That's another possibility.
That ring true to you?
Yeah, that's true, pitchforks. But I still think J.D. Vance, like, these are all very high trained lawyers. You know, they're lawyers. They talk they're very slick talking. Some of the slickest talking I've ever seen.
It does, and just to go back to neoliberalism and the way that it crosses those party lines, NAFTA, I think, kind of originated with the first Bush administration, but was of course signed into law and celebrated as a major victory for the Clinton administration. The person who held that pin, by the way, I think has there's been a bitter taste in a lot of workers' mouths around specifically the Democratic Party, even though both were complicit in NAFTA. But these moves toward globalization, which depending on who you are means very different things. The devaluing of the American worker without a real plan other than like, how about this coding program for people in Appalachia? That would be like a cool way to.
That was my favorite. My favorite thing that they ever said was, we are going to be pivoting from the coal industry and you're all going to be losing your jobs, but we are going to send you to computer science school. So it's really a wash.
Come on. So there were big money and corporate interests involved in all of those shifts, but ultimately part of that perfect storm of really pissing off the working class was that meanwhile you've got the party who used to be on their side, at least seemingly, who now just flat out apparently don't get it.
But you talk about it as identity, so I want to tease that out a little bit, because to my mind, even with both parties kind of embracing maybe a larger structure of neoliberalism and globalization.
Bro, you cannot talk about George Soros, okay? He's worth $7 billion. Elon Musk is worth $350 billion. I'm pretty sure Elon Musk has outspent George Soros' lifetime, just this election alone. You just can't do it. Like, George Soros and Elon Musk. Elon Musk is everything Republicans said George Soros was. He's everything they said George Soros was. And no one cares. All the Republicans love Elon Musk because he's on your side. Like, you just cared if it's on your side or not.
And capital being king and all those different things. The Democrats really do, like, Republican states have right to work states. If you're upset about globalization, if you're upset about factories moving to Mexico to avoid having to pay workers a decent wage or doing any of those things, South Carolina is kind of Mexico to maybe some of the northeastern states that have more worker protections. Why doesn't that resonate for workers?
Well, I think
that's an interesting way to look at it. I've had this thought before, but not fully thought out, how the way that red states view Mexico, like blue states with worker protections can view red states because they undercut wages. There's children working in meatpacking facilities in Arkansas, like in very dangerous facilities. They have 11-year-olds. Like, there was some crazy reports, and a lot of them are some of them workers, a lot of them are undocumented children. Which is crazy. But these red states really are kind of doing the same thing for a lot of the richer states, especially considering the blue states add so much to the federal budget, and the red states are a big drain on it because the blue states are the economic production, are the economic producers. And also, like, blue cities in in these states also produce all the economy, all the economic output for these states in general too, which is another very, very interesting aspect as well. These cities prop up a lot of rural communities in ways that they don't understand. I think we need rural people and urban, rural. We need to heal that divide, you know? We got to find a way to heal that divide a little bit. Join. You can't afford $3. Thank you, Pitchforks. Pitchforks said, join. You can't afford $2.99. LOL. LOL, haha, LMAO. I'm gonna start texting out loud. Thank you everyone for watching though and liking. Don't feel pressured to support, but thank you so much for all the super chats tonight. I really appreciate it. It really does. I was gonna get off at 2 a.m., but I gotta keep going now since I'm getting all these donations. Thank you so much for dropping likes and subscribing. We need one more like to get 100 likes. One more like to get 100. Thank you so much.
I think there was a very successful kind of messaging campaign.
Wait, someone said I fell down the stairs. I want to let her talk again. I'm going to let her talk for a little. But someone said I fell down the stairs. I did get hit by a baseball, okay? When I was young, I was running. I was running across a baseball camp. And I heard a back crack, and I felt my head just flash. I just saw a big flash in my eyes, bro. I could not see for a solid 20 seconds. I got right in the side of the head, bro. I got hit with a baseball. Off the bat. Could not see. But I'm like, I gotta be tough, so I never told anyone. I'm pretty sure I suffered a concussion. I'm pretty sure. I'm like 99% sure I had a major concussion. I just never told anyone. The rest of the day, I was just dizzy. I just lost my ability to see and feel for a little bit. It was okay. No one noticed. I just like played dead for a little bit.
States that have more worker protections. Why doesn't that resonate for workers?
Well, I think there was a very successful kind of messaging campaign some decades ago to not only get those laws through, the so-called right to work laws that were basically union busting, but also to kind of poison the water, to really shift the culture around a worker's relationship to the concept of a union.
Right.
As a child in the 80s, a lot of my family worked in the airplane factories in Wichita. That used to be a major center of that industry. Still is to some extent. Right. And also in wheat fields in the agricultural industry, that would not be a sector that's traditionally so tied up in unions. But I have folks in the trades in my family and communities who didn't want anything to do with unions. And I think it might have been that
propaganda.
Not just the laws changed, but somehow cleverly the culture also did.
That whole thing about union workers being lazy is kind of funny too, because you see, like, I don't think people understand union workers and the purpose for unions and high standards of labor. It's not about working 24/7, like every single hour of the day, because the stereotype is, oh, there's 50 union workers standing around a pothole not fixing it. But then you realize, we have bridges in America that span like 20 miles over the ocean. We have bridges everywhere in America that go over rivers. We go through mountains, over mountains. We have this infrastructure just working everywhere. And that's because we have high-skilled labor who we trust to do the job. We also pay people higher in unions because we know we can trust them to do the job well. We could have anyone do a job. But if you've ever hired a contractor, if you're over the age of 12, you need a good contractor. If you just cheap out on a contractor, whatever you get built is not going to survive very long.
There are imperfect systems themselves, of course. Labor and union.
And unions can be bad. They can be. You could have bad unions. But having a union is almost always better than not having a union. You should be fixing your union, not getting rid of it. Never get rid of your union. Never get rid of it. That is what your owner wants. That is what your owner wants, bro. So he can tell you when... The person who tells you if you can feed your family or not wants you to leave your union. Do not leave your union. Elect someone else to be in leadership, but never leave it.
Unions have historically
Once
also been rife with their own problems and been power structures of sorts.
Right.
But
they have their own corruption as well.
Sure. Yes. Yeah. And that's fair. And nobody knows that better than a worker. But they remain, to my mind, the greatest perhaps tool that laborers have, and it has been stripped away from people in a lot of states, as you say.
That actually gets, I think, an interesting point, which is whenever we discuss economics with people, and they always say, like, we've got to strengthen these unions and we've got to get in there. And isn't that in some ways maybe an antiquated way of looking, why is it incumbent always upon workers to just, in some respects, get better lobbyists? If we're going to be sticking with this idea that investment is a more powerful tool than labor, how do we not plug labor into that investment current? Sometimes they'll be offered stock portfolio or sharing or things like that, but that's not normal. And so how do we get it to the point where you don't need a union to come in there and go, Because generally, unions are still like, hey, stop making them work 60 hours, and you have to pay them overtime, and you really do need to give them health insurance. It's all those basics. Why don't they participate in the gravy?
I think this might go back to culture, actually, and the way that relates to class as an identity. So here's the thing. Even if you got in on that gravy, that gravy itself is unto a class and a mode of thinking and a relationship to economy that actually threatens your way of life and your place in your community and your skills. And so what I'm getting at here is like the folks who I know who...
Americans are very isolated as well. So being in a collective might scare some people
who do manual labor or would identify as members of the working class, even in the service industry and all sorts of jobs. They're very proud of their work. They aren't actually trying to get out of work. Some of them like to work. Their identity has to do with that steel, or their identity has to do with that wheat field or with that hammer, or even with that relationship they have with customers, waiting tables and so on. So it's like trying to say to a bunch of folks that are looking at everything in a macro way. Here on the ground, we're talking about the dignity of our work. We're also defending our rights, and we're trying to get more money, and we're trying to get you to back off working us into the ground. But that's not the same thing as saying we actually don't like our gig. And
excuse me, someone said Trump is God in chat. We're not going to have any blasphemy, okay? You're getting banned. You're not going to say Trump is God. God is God. God is God. Someone said Trump is my Diddy too. Nope, you're not saying that either. You're not going to offend Diddy like that. Never compare Diddy to Trump. That's not fair to Diddy. I think, okay, unironically, HeroScape, that is a very underrated reason that Trump also could have won. The fact that Trump only won by 2% with a bad campaign, and also every incumbent party lost. We have to keep repeating that globally because of the inflation that they had no control over, really. And Biden did pretty good with it. But the assassination attempt probably did put Trump over the edge, if we're being honest. Like, without that, he definitely loses this election. That's an underrated factor of this election that I think people are not talking about nearly enough for why many voters probably swung to Trump, and why, like, the vision of Trump changed. And I don't hear any pundits talking about it at all, about what effect that might have had. I don't think it's reasonable to use that as a calculation, but a lot of voters probably did use that as a reason. Thank you. Please like and subscribe. Thank you.
And feel very proud of the skills that we have. And by God, don't you? We can talk about AI all you want, but for the time being, we need people who have those skills, and they know it. While I don't think it's a bad idea what you're talking about, I think it's just two different realities in terms of a relationship to capital, how you build it, how you value yourself. Right. If a worker hands over, just like the inherent value of her ability to fix a sink, and now she's swimming with the real sharks, trying to get ahead. Swimming in the gravy, if you will. That's maybe a really precarious way to be, because they've already got you beaten every other way. At least they don't know how to fix their sink.
I was almost thinking about it as it's adding another revenue stream for that work, more than redefining that work. It's like almost trying to come up with in the ways that they're very creative about padding their bottom line. And you have this with a lot of corporations. They'll pay a certain like wage that's not a living wage. And so you're forcing people who are still having, as you say, that work that they're proud of, that dignity that they're proud of, but it's not bringing them enough that they don't still have to reach out to some government programs to help them even to just get by. I mean, I don't know if people realize how much people who work still rely on programs from the government to benefit that.
Oh, yeah, like a scandalous percentage of, let's say, Walmart employees are on food stamps. The scandal, by the way, to be clear, is that Walmart is underpaying its workers, not that anyone needs to seek out assistance. It was my meaning.
Exactly, and that's the point. And it's so interesting. You talked about it as this is an identity. And what goes along with that identity? It's sort of, because you're saying it cuts across different lines of class and gender and religion and those different things. In that identity, is it just about the government not recognizing their struggle, or is it about a government also not being able to ease it? Which do you think is bigger?
Well, I think that we can maybe answer the question by just pinpointing or teasing out who is that government, who's there. It's mostly pretty well-off folks, affluent folks. A lot of them went to the same Ivy League school.
Yes, same Ivy League schools. I think Ivy League schools are a drain on society, by the way. Most of them. I think half of Ivy School graduates go into consulting or finance, whether they go for business or math or whatever, like social stuff, like whatever, law, they go into consulting or finance. And they don't really add value. They have a lot of legacy admissions from people who are already kind of rich. Please drop a like and subscribe. This chat's kind of wild on here. That's crazy.
Right. There has been, modest, but somewhat heartening and hopeful diversification of Congress and the ranks of government along gender and racial lines. If you look at class, though, very rare is the lawmaker who has a background with direct experience of poverty or the working class.
Bro, that's so true. I don't know lawmakers who have real experiences their entire 30 years. Well, I guess you could say Tim Walz is pretty close because he was just a regular dude until 40, right? He was a teacher, National Guard, and that kind of stuff. But I don't know people who had full normal lives and they just got into politics at 40 or 50 and rose to the national stage. It's usually people who are very trained on politics from 18 or from 17 at least. It's kind of wild.
Or throw in rural America and you're down to people you can count on one hand.
Right. But then you get a guy like John Tester in Montana, and they just voted him out. I mean, that's a dude who literally lost part of his hand in a threshing accident.
I think it was a meat grinder.
Meat grinder.
Yeah, and they are firing farmers to select people who are Silicon Valley investors, venture capitalists, and hedge fund managers, like Moreno in Ohio and McCormick in Pennsylvania. These are some of the slimiest, richest people of all time. Not even the managerial, but the ownership class of society. The super ultra wealthy ownership class of everything. And they're getting elected over people who are actual public servants and care about the job and passing laws. It's kind of wild because you talk about being the party of the working class as Republicans, but then all of your candidates are hedge fund millionaires.
But yeah, and God bless him. He had a good run.
Not to say Democratic candidates are much better. There are a lot of Democratic candidates who are also rich and from privileged backgrounds. It's a theme of politics in general, but at least liberals aren't talking like Trump, being so anti-working class while also pretending to cosplay it. Let's go dress up as a McDonald's worker, guys.
So what I'm getting at here is I'm not so sure that it's that the structures themselves are unresponsive by definition. Mm-hmm. But rather the folks who are driving, who are behind the wheel, have enormous class blind spots and often racial blind spots and gender blind spots as well. But across the board, there is just a gross inability to truly understand the day-to-day lives of the average American, and that's true in both parties, of course. I talked about the little trick that the Republicans pull off meanwhile earlier, but if the Democrats also have that problem, and then they're telling you you're wrong, that the economy sucks, recipe for disaster.
Right. And you look at, J.D. Vance is supposed to be the avatar for the politician who comes from, Appalachia, comes from a white working class background, but I think you're right. Then you tie it into it. But there's a dude who, his story is, I worked my ass off and went to Yale and got out of that place. And maybe the thing that you're saying is, what if we recognize a pride of place, that not everybody necessarily wants to leave, has great pride in not just the work that they do, but the culture that surrounds them. They don't want a way out. They want a way to live where they live, how they live, with dignity and some economic security.
Yeah,
that's a really good point. Because JD Vance shows no signs of someone that cares about the community he's from. He does not care about JD Vance does not talk about any issue concerning Appalachia that would make me think he's actually from there. It makes me think he just learned about it on Twitter, not that he grew up there. And it's really interesting because he met these rich people like Peter Thiel. The fact that they met all of these ultra wealthy billionaires at such a young age, like Vance and Vivek, is really interesting. It's like they go and recruit people who are skilled at politics and fund them. I want to know when they met Peter Thiel and all the billionaires, like when JD Vance met them along that journey. Maybe I'll read JD Vance's book. I doubt he reveals when he met the dark funders, though. I don't think he's going to reveal the corruption in the book. Does he have other books other than? He probably has other books other than Hillbilly Elegy, I assume. Remember JD Vance said that Trump is like American Hitler. That was kind of crazy. Can't believe JD Vance said that. Okay, it's time of the night. Hey, yeah, he wrote a book about his scorn for whites and poor Appalachians. I live in a old coal town, brother. That's how I know coal's bad. That's how I know we don't want coal mines anymore. But everyone here still talks about it. All right. We're calming down. We're going in sleep mode. Going in sleep mode, guys. We're winding down for the night so I could talk to some of y'all.
Yes, 100%. So when I moved to New York in my 20s, a question I often got was, how did you get out? And I think the idea was it was a compliment. And I actually love the place I'm from. I live there again now in rural Kansas, happily. But I had no choice in terms of my career path and my goals and my aspirations professionally and academically, but to leave. I'm kind of a homecomer, if you will, who returned on the Odyssean journey. But
that's how I ended up back in Jersey. Same thing.
Yeah, you get it. So, but yes, home and place, and I believe those things often kind of relate to class. But the capitalist and industrialized and globalized and urbanized way of looking at reality often leaves place out of the equation. And place, boy, does that is that still a tie that binds. I find when I talk to people about my work, all colors and ethnicities and political stripes, even, you know, where I'm from, you say, where are you from, and what. So your daddy was down at, you worked at that grain elevator, and there's different versions of that all over this beautiful country, of course. And if all of the policy and the aspiration that you're talking about, you know, some we haven't mentioned yet is how, like, the Democrats throughout that campaign, John, I don't think I heard him say the word working class once, the term. Maybe I missed it, their economic plan. But the reason I point that out is because it's always about the middle class. We're talking about, how do we get you in the middle class? We know you want to be in the middle class. We're jerking off the middle class with every overture we make with our messaging, exalting the notion that, and meanwhile, we're defining, like, the demarcation line as a college degree. And so the notion is, so if we know you want to make it and you want to get into the middle class, I know people that are perfectly happy with their modest lives in a rural landscape, and they're proud to be doing the work of tending and protecting a piece of land. And maybe they're extremely well self-educated, read a bunch of books. But if the current pathways are like, and now you've got to leave your home and go take this coding class and now enter this.
I don't know how you stream. I like to subscribe, but I can't find a regular YouTube stream, just like the shorts, and you need a link up with, I don't even know who those creators are, but thank you for shouting them out. What do you mean the regular stream? I have the shorts stream. Do you mean like a regular format one? I usually don't have any chatters in there because everyone comes on the shorts, but if you want the regular, like, YouTube stream, I'll pin it to the top here. Like, if you want a vertical, or if you want the horizontal version of it. And I do have regular videos on my channel. I'm gonna take my channel more seriously. I haven't been, but it's been pretty successful in the past few weeks, so I've been going a little bit harder on it.
This completely different world that you don't even want. I mean, you know, like, another thing, of course, what's the saying about New York, if you can make it there, you can make it anywhere. And what I always say is, well, there are people who could make it there, but they just don't want to.
Chats should be linked together. I don't know how to link two YouTube chats together. I know how to link, like, Twitch. I don't stream to other platforms. I used to. I know how to do, like, Twitch and YouTube and Facebook and Twitter at the same time for chats, but I don't know how to combine the YouTube shorts and the regular YouTube chat. If I could, I would. I have no idea how, though, since they're on the same website.
And that's like being completely left out of the conversation about what sorts of aspirations or goals someone would have for a good and fulfilling life.
That, Sarah, I think you've hit on, I don't want to call it sort of the mother lode of but what.
Yeah, I don't know. If you can't see it, I don't know why you can't see it. Can you not find the regular sized stream for this? Because that's weird if you can't find it. It's on my channel.
You've just said has struck me in a way that maybe I hadn't think before, but you're right. As I'm looking at the breakdowns of the electorate, you know, people with a college degree is now the biggest separator between there, but inherent in that is a certain prejudice about what that means. The idea being a college degree is your passport, and you cannot go anywhere without the college degree. Oh, and by the way, the ante for a college degree is now at minimum, you cannot go $75,000 all the way up to $500,000 for 4 years, or some crazy fucking piece of money that's going to put you in debt And you're going to have to climb out of that for the whole thing without this idea that there is that sense of place and lifestyle and culture that should be economically and...
Oh, we just shot up to 800 viewers. Hello, viewers. I'm getting off soon, but I'm a liberal, progressive, Democrat, left, I don't know, streamer. I'm a pragmatist, okay? Pragmatic progressive. Please drop a like and subscribe if you just joined the stream. If you like that kind of stuff. We're here correcting misinformation, disinformation. Right now we're just vibing. We're just vibing right now until the end of this video, but thank you for hanging out and subscribing and liking and all that kind of stuff. I have the chat on subscribe only mode right now, just because I had to lock it for a little bit for my sanity. Here, let's open the chat back up. Wait, clicking that link brings you here? That's from the... Is it not on my channel either? If you join the Discord, maybe. I could drop the link in Discord, see if it works that way.
Socially viable for people. And that they shouldn't have to choose that one path of debt and whatever that passport would cost them. I think that is a really important point that I have not heard spoken very often.
Yeah, I think it's an important one, and I want to point out, by the way, that choice that someone might make, or that kind of rearrangement of traditional capitalist value sets in deciding where to hang their hat and how to live their lives. That's it's important for all of us, including urban and formally educated folks. That people are, something I would like to point out.
I like that. I like formerly. Did she say formerly educated? I like that.
Having grown up in a rural space and living in one again now. Yes, we are a majority urban population now, but 98% of the land of the United States is rural space. And as someone who sees firsthand what's going on out there in terms of corporations and who's buying that land, what they're doing to it and extracting to it, it's good for all of us if we've got a little bit more of a sprinkle going on. Somebody reasonable and sane who has that pride of place that you mentioned, who wants to protect that place. That actually affects all of us. If you eat, if you put gas in your car, if you care about the earth and the land that we share. People who are, trying to keep the kind of agrarian lifestyle that is days gone by for a lot of families, but is still alive and well in some. It's the fabric of our country, and I'm glad that some people are prioritizing being in those places.
Right. And by the way, I'm not, I don't want to give the idea that I'm fetishizing that, or that idea of like, yep, those are the good, hardworking people. Like working in a city, living in a city, getting through there, surviving there. That's fucking hard too. Like it is. I think the whole idea of it is not viewing things as in such a hierarchy, but in viewing them. Now, the counter to that might be the rural areas of this country do hold a larger portion of the political power just based on how the Constitution has apportioned how we vote. Does that part of it, look, we talk about, the rural parts.
Yeah, but rural areas have higher power with the federal government, but I would probably say just more people live in cities, and also the rural, I don't know, we give a lot of money to farmers, but I feel like that's more expressed in our cultural voting than it is our economic voting, the fact that rural voters have such power, because they don't typically vote in their own class interests. So it's really, it's a really weird one. I saw a couple more likes come in. Thank you for subscribing and everything.
Are much more decidedly red.
The new poll is, are unions good? I have a poll up for are unions good right now, if you want to vote on it. I say unions are good. Unions are a good thing. They can have negative aspects. If they're corrupt, you got to fix the corruption. But you want a union on your side. You want some way to collectively bargain and collectively organize with your fellow working class people. If Amazon is gonna spend millions of dollars to make sure they don't get unions, then it's probably something you should look to get if you can get one. It's probably a good thing then.
And they do hold within our Senate certainly a much.
Amazon has their own internal CIA to track unions so they can union bust. They have their own internal CIA. You can even Google that.
Google
that right now.
Decidedly red. And they do hold within our Senate, certainly, a much larger portion of the political power in terms of the amount of people they represent. So before we go too far down the rabbit hole of nobody sees these folks, does that part resonate in rural areas? How do they view that? And I have a follow-up to that, but I'm just curious.
Yeah, well, what's wild is for all the electoral college privileging those rural states, as you point out.
No, farmers operate at a profit negative. Farming is actually known to be one of the biggest drains on like the economy, but we support farming, and I support using tax dollars to support farming. But when you look at federal subsidies for farmers per year, it's around $20 billion. And this could be for crop failure, national emergencies. It could be for generally just supporting farming in areas that they don't make enough money. There's a bunch of different farmers grants. So farming does not turn a big profit. The government needs to prop up farming, especially small farms. So yeah, you have to look up farming policy. And Trump passed the farm bill. You can Google that as well in like 2018.
It's most folks I know in those parts of the country don't feel represented by their governments either. Part of that is due to just not really resonating with either side in this two-party system. And again, the largely rich people that run both of those parties.
Right.
Also, you know, if you look at when you strip an issue away from those labels R and D and have a ballot measure for progressive ideas like legal weed or reproductive rights.
Someone said unions used to be good, but often no longer care about the workers' opinion. But yeah, you should still keep the union though. Just vote out the bad people. If it's corrupt, vote out the corrupt people. Because once you give up the union, it's so hard to get it back. And unions directly correlate with if people have, if the lower, like if working class people have money. There's a direct correlation between that and unions. The top 1% share of income versus the bottom 90%. Once unions went away during the Reagan era, then we started having massive income and wealth inequality.
Defending those, Medicaid expansion, all down the list, they often pass in so-called red states. So there's something going on there about the idea.
Yeah, I know I'm blocking them. Who are you voting for, Kamala, Trump, or Donald Harris? I think I'm gonna vote for Ronald McDonald Jr. Kennedy. Jill Stein, I think so. Or no, not Jill Stein. I'm sorry. Tulsi Stein, Jill Gabbard.
Identity, you know, has now become we're the red state, and that's our majority politics here. And sometimes that becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy in terms of now heightened sense of desire to belong to your place. But that's not necessarily the same thing as reflecting.
All right. I welcome dissenting opinions. Feel free to have debates in chat and everything, but I'm putting subscriber only mode on because there's some Counter-Strike player coming back in with different accounts spamming the N-word, and we're not going to do that.
Precisely what you believe and want in the world, and that dissonance between political behavior and what people actually believe, you know, that's for sociologists and psychologists to parse, but I know it firsthand. I've seen it. Another thing about that kind of wobbly way that we get representation and how the rural folks have more. You know, that red and blue map and that winner take all politics that it reflects is so toxic, I think, to our understanding of ourselves, whether you're rural or urban or somewhere in between. You know, in most, you've probably seen before when someone takes the 50 states and instead gives them a gradient of purple rather than.
Yeah, Amazon is a garbage employer. And that's why if we had unions, they would be a better. I don't want those kind of subs though, actually. Because if they sub with fake accounts, that makes my channel look worse. Because then it means my view versus subscriber rate's bad. Amazon would be a better workplace if there was a union. It would be forced to be a better workplace with a union.
We've seen before when someone takes the 50 states and instead gives them a gradient of purple rather than just showing who actually won the state in the way that we run our elections, but rather to actually reflect the sizable political minorities that exist in every state. And they're there in red states too. Even, you know, a place like my.
Farming, coal mines, and oil field has fed my family for many years. I am also from an area that has those industries. Coal mines are bad for everyone. The coal mines are not remembered good. A lot of health issues, terrible pay. People making a lot of money off it. But I do think we should have an actual off-ramp. So, for example, we shouldn't take away energy production, which Biden produced more oil than Trump by far. We shouldn't take away energy production without having an off-ramp or without having like a different solution for people. People who say we should ban fracking before we actually have like a post-fracking energy system, it's really bad. But like green energy jobs pay a lot better for your health. We should be producing renewable energy if we can. Farming as well. I'm just saying farming is supported by the federal government from federal subsidies. I'm good with nuclear. The history of coal mining overall with the pay for coal miners, unless if you mean the new like clean coal, but at least where I'm from, a lot of death. Coal mining by far has the highest death rate of any energy source by far. Coal mine, like if you look up like deaths per energy unit produced or whatever. I like nuclear energy though, especially with the new technology. There's no reason to not like it, I don't think. Yeah, I know they're reopening nuclear facilities only now because they want to power AI with it. I wish they would do it without just having AI. But like Microsoft bought 3 Mile Island, which was shut down for a while, but they only bought it because they want to, because AI costs so much energy. I wish they would do solutions like that just to help the world, but of course we need the free market to drive it because we are capitalisms.
Kansas, I think in, you know, most general elections, there's about 40% of people vote for the Democratic presidential candidate, and 2 out of 5 people ain't nothing. But
sure.
So here's where, again, that the Electoral College and the way we do our elections is damaging even in those spaces that are disproportionately, you know, represented,
right?
Whether in the Senate and
No, not for just the environment. Like coal mines and coal mine workers have the worth. I just had a lisp for a second. Have the worst health outcomes out of like oil, wind turbines, hydro, whatever. Coal has by far the most people that die from it, and that get health complications from it. So it's usually not worth it for someone's entire lifespan. Usually, but I mean there's exceptions. But coal is also very destructive. Like I have multiple sinkholes in the trails, just like within 20 minutes, where you could throw a rock, and you could let me know if you have these too. But you can throw a rock down the sinkhole from the coal mines, and it'll probably take a good 50 seconds, like maybe a minute, till you hear it hit the bottom. Because on the ATV trails, these sinkholes will open up randomly. We have underground fires that have been burning for the past like 100 years.
Or elsewhere, is that if you are one of those 2 out of 5 people in that place, my God, is that demoralizing, and it is so hard to keep hanging. And then meanwhile,
Look up Centralia burning fire.
If you're being sort of lumped in as though there's this, you know, stereotype or homogenization of your place in the cultural idea of it, and you know, you're like a kid holding a Black Lives Matter sign in small town Kansas, and I've seen it. That's very brave work. That might be braver work than what.
No, I'm saying we can have more short-term money jobs is what I'm saying. Like maintenance on solar panels isn't like a super hard job, but it pays really well. So like I'd rather put solar panel fields in rather than oil fields or coal fields, or coal mines or quarries, whatever. Just because it's good for the environment, plus it can pay well. There are other jobs we can transition to. My issue with Democratic politicians when talking about this is when they say like, "Oh, we're gonna move you from coal mining to coding. You're gonna be working computer science, bro." It's like you're so out of touch. I don't think most people would have an issue if you moved them off coal mines and switched them to maintaining wind turbines. Like I really don't think most people would have an issue with that. But they need to have trust that would actually work for them. You know what I mean? Because people have done things a certain way for so long. You don't want to take apart someone's way of life without making it very clear that you have a plan for them, or they're gonna think you're just like trying to ruin things for them. And a lot of these communities that are small have done things like this for hundreds of years, 50, whatever, how many, not hundreds, but long enough generations of their family. So building that trust is really hard.
What's going down in Brooklyn? You know what I mean? Because it's like you're against the grain.
No question.
You're against the grain of the culture. And then meanwhile, you keep seeing this red and blue map. And then meanwhile, where is your vote going? My God, does it even matter? And that's what I was alluding to about a self-fulfilling prophecy, because then those people might long to leave. And I'm sure that it works vice versa too with folks in so-called blue states.
Right.
Choosing to hang their
right.
heads
Yeah. There's a sorting.
It's
of
a
it.
soft sorting.
It makes perfect sense. But what is so blowing my mind about this is, and this is the thing that you're talking about, that dissonance between how you feel and maybe what the policy might reflect or what things are in a more practical way. But it is so.
Anything compared to coal is going to be much cleaner. Nothing's clean though, energy-wise. Like nothing is, from batteries to just machinery. But it's not even comparable. Wind is hard, but wind is pretty difficult. You have to have a lot of land for that. Where you build it, matters a lot, but solar fields are a little bit more reliable. We have a lot of land that's not good for farming. That's really bad for farming. Where I feel like we could put solar panel fields in. So like in the deserts, in some of our like really middle America states, that you really can't do much with the land. But yeah, we could use those for solar panels, but we don't have the battery capacity for that stuff yet. We're back up to 800 viewers again. But thank you all for joining me. I feel like I have to keep on staying on here because more people are coming, more people are subscribing. Thank you for subscribing and dropping a like. Context and specific context. Well, I could talk about, I have coal miners in my family, like old coal miners. I'm sure being a coal miner improved now versus what it was in the 40s, like versus the 40s. But if you want me to be doing a professional news show, then y'all gotta subscribe as members. If I get enough channel members, I have like 35 now. If I get like 300 channel members, I could do this full time. We're only like, you know, we're pretty close, bro. We're like 7% of the way there. But yeah, thanks for watching and everything. How's everyone doing? How is everyone? Who is to say who is good and who is bad? I don't know. I guess you haven't researched the windmills. Nope, I've never done any research. Wait, what point in the stream are you guys watching? I don't even know what you're responding to.
So if I were to look at this more broadly, this idea of like in the red states, some of this is a rejection of what they would call identity politics. We're so tired of pandering to identity, black, gay, Jewish, you know, we don't want to pander. We don't want woke policies. On the flip side of that is see our identity, value our identity. It is a sort of bizarro world DEI identity politics. It's that
Yes.
there is an identity here that isn't being addressed, and
Yes.
and that in some ways what's effective about what you're talking about the feeling is, it seems to me that the most effective message that the Republicans have is you work hard and you pay money into a system that doesn't deliver for you because it's too busy giving money to undocumented trans athletes who are there to destroy your, like they've painted this picture of a system that you work to pay into, but undeserving people get all the benefit of it, which is in some ways just a different kind of identity politics.
I've been calling this out for a while, that Trump's campaign was identity politics. Like Trump's we have 800 viewers again. We keep getting spikes. Trump's campaign was a different kind of identity politics, but it was the rejection. So you have social justice warriors, then you have anti-social justice warriors, and Trump's campaign fit in the anti-SJWs, which are somehow more annoying, which is pretty impressive and hard to accomplish, but they do pull it off, which is a really good accomplishment by you. Thank you guys for liking and subscribing. I'm running out of energy because I've been going for a while now, but the overwhelming support keeps me going on here. Hey, are you here, Pitchfork? Were you able to find that other stream? Were you able to find that that horizontal stream? Did that work for you at all?
No.
Well, I think it's a manipulation of the way in which we've been handling identity politics, and I don't use that term, you know, negatively. It's
right.
It's important that we're talking about racial inequality and gender inequality and the way that those things affect your probable outcomes. But if you're doing that, if your DEI statement isn't also talking about socioeconomic class,
right?
If your definition of diversity is not also acknowledging wealth or you know, I'm a first generation college student, so
I love this, dude. I love her, bro. I love her, bro. That's my biggest complaint all the time about the DEI stuff, bro. They never include class. They never include that identity. That is an identity. They never talk about it. I'm talking for the actual progressives in the chat. I've been a part of so many meetings that where they're race reductionist, if you know what that means. So like race reductionism, you have intersectionality, and this is for all the liberals in chat. You have intersectionality, and Oh, we're having an anti-union push. Interesting. So we have gender, race, and class, but many of these groups, these very progressive groups, only want to talk about race. They do hyper focus on race. And I ask, can we talk about intersectional qualities? Because that's what you're supposed to do, like race, gender, class, how they intersect each other, how they combine, how they result in different outcomes. But so many of these spaces are race reductionist. And I've been a part of these groups that like it's like white guilt counseling. It really is like white guilt. Like, it's not a good way to do this. Like, it's obviously not a good way to do it.
Often find myself in, or college graduate, I often find myself in professional spaces where I'm the only person who has a background remotely like mine, regardless of color and gender. And yet when I was kind of, crossing that bridge from, one class experience or reality to another, if you will, and I contain both today, but that bridge was on that college campus. As that first generation student, there were rightly race and gender and other aspects of identity were being addressed. But there was something very specific about what I was that made a really hard go.
Yeah, people talk about unions being corrupt, and I'm like, bro, if you think the union's corrupt, just wait till you find out about ownership, bro. If you think the union's corrupt, bro, just wait till the union's gone. Just wait till you see what big business does to you. Wait till you see what big business does. You think the union's bad, bro?
Something very specific about what I was that made a really hard go of it for me that was not being discussed. And if we as a culture and a country are not acknowledging that class is also an identity, then in that void, in that vacuum where deep pain of valid sense of not being seen arises, there then comes in writing on a demon horse, Rush Limbaugh. There comes in writing the messages about the immigrants and the reason and the brown people and so it's there is actually, in my view, a real. Now I want to be careful here because when I talk about a grievance, you can simultaneously have white privilege and economic disadvantage. My family would be an example. I grew up on a fifth generation.
Yeah, my family would be an example too. But I mean, most people would say that I'm racially ambiguous, which was kind of wild growing up. I don't really agree, but I'm sure chat would have some fun opinions about that. But that's what the left never really paid attention to, was just like the intersectional qualities, being white and also being poor, and not paying attention to that, just like not caring about it at all. It's not good politics. It's not good values. I've always included that in my analysis. But the entire left, I feel like when people come into my chats and they talk to me too, they look at me with the perception of every liberal they've seen, every progressive they've seen, and the way that other people advocate for these different policies and different ways to talk about these issues. And I've come in I've had conflict with many of these people that you don't like, because I don't like their approach. But I'm still very pro LGBT. I'm still very pro like caring about racial discrimination and talking about historic racism in the US, but I also care about the working class in general, and I look at white people and white people who are disadvantaged, and how all of that can intertwine and lead to, someone feeling different ways and different outcomes and different people's struggles, and paying attention to all communities that might be going through things. I think the elitist left has not done a good job, so hopefully they do better. If it's not too late, drop a like, hit subscribe. I can't really go much further. It's 3:30 a.m. and I haven't gotten a super chat in so long. No super chats, I can't do it. Shaking my head. I'm crazy. We need more tariffs. Yes, you're right. We need more tariffs. That is that's the thing we need.
Farm, and we struggled to get by, and we were below the poverty line, as we say. I qualified for a Pell Grant, and it's also true that
No, that is true though. Like, they've given everyone an identity except white people, and then now Trump comes in, and Trump did white identity politics. So since the left completely abandoned, thank you, Pitch. I knew you were gonna do that. You got baited. You just got baited, pitchforks. I appreciate it though. Thank you. Trump did the white identity politics that the left never did. The left left that window open for Trump. I kept saying over the years that we were giving up. We were throwing alley-oops. We were throwing like softballs. We were throwing just lobs, giving Republicans a chance to hit home runs. Like we've been doing that so long, but it really was like the dominant culture did not allow for this conversation to happen, to make it better. And then the thing is with these groups, you can have talking about indigenous populations. You can talk about Palestine. You can talk about racial discrimination. You can talk about the history of black people and talk about even like reparations, or we can talk about everything. We don't need to abandon any of these issues, but we can just point out that even with a good mindset and a good, a good list of determined goals, you can still do that in a way that's not equitable. But in these spaces, they feel when you get a certain education, then you have all the answers and you know the approach, and that can't be challenged. So now it can be challenged. Now it can, because everyone's pretty down bad as a result of this election. So maybe Democrats will finally learn a little bit.
That we own a little bit of land. That land was stolen from indigenous peoples. People of color probably never could have owned it without being menaced in times gone by. And so
Ross, I can't put that, but I agree with you. I agree, Ross. That's 100%.
Even poor white
Why do we need to talk about race at all? Because it matters.
families, you can find traces.
Because Kamala did not mention race once, but the Republicans would not shut up about race. And then they ended up saying, they called her a Malaysian, Somalian, low IQ woman or something like that. Like it's obviously a thing we need to talk about. Yeah, actually no, racism's fake. It never happened. Racism ended. Like we made racism illegal. It's not a thing. The racism's gone, guys. Racism's gone.
It's the white privilege. But if you're only acknowledging the privilege of whiteness, and you're not, meanwhile, discussing the fact that within the 40 million people in this country living in poverty, the largest group of them are actually white, just because we're still a majority white nation, you're more likely to be poor as a person of color due to structural racism. But if you're only talking about the privilege and you're not acknowledging the disadvantage within the white working class.
And by the way, also black working class, Latino working,
She did not base her entire campaign on race baiting. She tried her best to not talk about race at all. She tried to not talk about race. She made an effort to not talk about race. The media talked about race with her, and Trump talked about race. Trump was like, is she really black? Trump made those conversations a thing. Kamala did not do that. You don't keep racism alive by talking about it. If you're uncomfortable talking about racism, that's a problem. We should be able to talk about racism and no one gets uncomfortable and we just evaluate things.
So when you talk about all those identified,
drop a like and hit subscribe. Drop a like and hit subscribe, please. Drop a like and hit subscribe.
There may be
also channel memberships. Okay. Anyone on here who is a lib, who cares about left politics, I will keep spreading these facts. It's not an interesting mindset. It's true, and you're like, not only if you're not insecure about it, you should be able to talk about it. It's like people saying that Obama is the reason that we have race. The people that say, oh, Obama is the reason there's racism. It's like, oh, like you're just, okay. He's the reason there's racism. Okay. As if you weren't questioning if he was born in America his entire time running. And you weren't saying Obama and saying Barack Hussein Obama to really emphasize it, to make him seem like an outsider. Thank you so much, Kane. I appreciate it. I hope that's genuine. Are you a moderate or a conservative? Kane donated $5 and said, I randomly stumbled upon your channel while doom scrolling, but in the past 10 minutes, you've made better points than 90% of any left media I've seen. I really appreciate that. I do think I have I grew up in a really bad position. Like I grew up in poverty. I saw a lot of violent things, a lot of bad things in general. So I think I have a really sober perspective looking at these things. So like, I don't know. I feel like I can look at things in a less biased way than most people. Everyone feels like they do that, but I think I actually do. I'm the only one that actually does. Find me on Discord. Wait, just here's the community Discord. Let me drop the community Discord. Someone said they want to call in. If you're still watching, I'll do the call-ins tomorrow. I'm beat tonight. Like I can't do call-ins when I'm tired. I can do normal streaming when I'm tired, but especially if it's gonna be some type of debate, like I just can't do it. So this is putting you to sleep. Shut up. I dropped the community Discord. This is the one if you're like a liberal, or if you're a moderate, or if you're like reasonable and you want to have reasonable discussions. If you're a troll, please don't join. Your name is Layla. Laying down is in your name.
Be more common ground amongst working class of all
Yes.
races, genders, religions, and things
Yes.
than there is amongst upper
Get some sleep. Get some sleep. You need sleep. Everyone needs sleep. Sleep is good for you.
class of
Use me to help you fall asleep. I can help you fix your sleeping schedule.
Absolutely.
color, right?
Yes.
This is I'm telling you, man. This is the hit because it's that.
You got the biggest nose I've ever seen, little bro. Who said that?
Resentment that treats our game, and you said it earlier about a zero-sum election. It's also capitalism can't be a zero-sum game where only investment is the thing. It's about recognizing struggle as identity, and that being like in a capitalist system, there are victims. Anytime you're in a system that is searching for the cheapest labor and the cheapest raw materials to make goods and services, you will have people who suffer at the bottom of that. Recognizing that, what's so interesting about this is it's actually a way for Democrats to expand on the way that they view identities and groups, to include, not to exclude, but to include even more people.
School integration was such a good idea. It had to be enforced with the National Guard at rifle point. Yeah, it was a good idea. I'm sorry that people are racist. We're not just going to stop improving society because some people are stupid and they believe dumb things. You realize that people who are racist create all racial conflict. They create all racial conflict. Especially with immigration. Like, it does not need to be as rough as things are. You can't join the Discord? Why can't you join anything? It's in the description. Join the community Discord if you can. If you're a friend of the show.
And to promote ways of not just making those identities feel seen, but of alleviate.
Why are reparations considered? So, for example, in like Boston, Massachusetts, I know there's a study there. The average wealth of a white person in these areas that had systemic racism is like $50,000, and the average wealth of the black people that live there is like negative $100,000. And you can trace it back directly to where slavery left many black families with no jobs and no income. Why do you think many black people have the last names Washington and Jefferson? It's because America erased a lot of black history, and there was no lineage to even come from. So they just chose whatever names would be as adaptable to American society at the time. There's a lot of things today. Many of the poor lines and the red lines drawn in cities today, where you see the poor black populations, were determined over 100 years ago. And we can draw a direct line from the 1700s to now and indicate where the poor areas are that came as a result of direct racism. So that's what the point for someone said black people overwhelmingly opposed forced integration. I doubt that's true. You can just say that if you want. It's not even about reparations itself. It's about if everyone had a full historical analysis of slavery and how this country benefited from slavery, and then who got the money from it, and those historically rich slave families who own slaves versus those who were slaves, and where those families are today economically. You could just see that 200-year path. Like even right now, there's people who have grandmothers who couldn't vote, grandmothers who couldn't, drink out of the, certain water fountains, who couldn't have jobs or bank accounts, and those things still linger. They don't just go away in 50 years. Like MLK should be like in the 60s right now. MLK should be like 60 or 70 right now. MLK should be younger than Donald Trump, I'm pretty sure. People think it was like super far in our history, but it was very recent. Very recent. Having someone pay for someone else's choices is insane to me. It's not about that. It's about the entire economic system existing together. No one exists independently of each other. And we lose money if we don't fix certain parts of our country. Like, we lose money from poverty as a country, but that's the whole thing. So Jimmy Carter is still alive at 100. So MLK would have been 95. Yeah. I forgot we're in 2024. Because during 2020, they were saying how he would have been 90. Alright, drop a like, hit subscribe. I have to go. I'm getting too tired. Anyone watching the channel, thank you for hopping in here. Channel memberships are $2.99. Really appreciate that. I'm getting too tired. I've streamed for 4 hours. I cannot respond. I'm not used to that. So I'm going to start just saying random things. This guy thinks he knows about racism. Alright. I'm going to spam the chat with ads right now, so go to bed. We're inserting ads. Tell me if you see ads when I do this. Are you guys seeing ads? It's not random stuff just because you don't know what it is. Just because you aren't familiar with anything doesn't mean it's random. It seems random just because you don't know what I'm talking about. Come on, I'm inserting ads. Dang it. What do I not know? You can, name anything, really. You don't even know. Hi, Carlos, in the Discord. Welcome. Yeah, Carlos. They are coping. I could be sitting here just like not doing anything. They'll come in and start crying. You know what would be good for right now? You know it's always a good thing to do this time of night? I lose. Goodbye. Okay, goodbye. Oh, you found the other chat? You found the other chat, Pitchforks. Good job. Well, we're done doing politics. You guys, thank you for joining me. You did find it just in time to see me not talk about politics anymore. Now we're talking about what really matters. We're talking about the reals. The things that really matter, man. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Let's go. Whew. Now the dork is playing Nintendo, they say? Wow, you guys don't know anything. Disqualified. Disqualified. You think it's Nintendo. Yeah, well, thank you for hanging out. Oh, yeah. Woo! This gets me going, I tell you what. This gets me going, man. This is what I live for right here, bro. Woo! Sheesh. All right. I do need meds, thank you. All right. This is called Sonic the Hedgehog for anyone who doesn't know. Whew. Oh, this game's good, man. Wow. Have a good night, everyone. Have a good night. Whoa. Oh no, I messed up my time right there. No, I messed it up. Yeah, I really messed up my time. That's disappointing. Wow. I'm pathetic, bro. My whole time is messed up. Shaking my head. Now I'm 4 seconds back from my PR. I'm terrible. Oh, I missed all the coins too. Wow, this is sad. This is actually pathetic. Yeah, for real. I'm just playing Sonic the Hedgehog. Have a good night, everyone. Go to bed. I should change my stream title. Should I change it to Trump hates Sonic the Hedgehog? Trump hates Sonic the Hedgehog. Alright, there we go. I fixed the stream title. Look how beautiful he is. Look at him. Do you see him? I love Sonic, man. Shadow is dark blue. Trump hates Shadow the or Sonic the Hedgehog. It's terrible. You're cute? Okay, if I'm cute, pay me. Drop a super chat to prove it. Oh, I messed up. Hey Jacob, you're the one that watched me for like 3 hours. I'm sorry, buddy. Thank you for watching. I appreciate the viewership. I messed up again. Yeah. Good night, good night. Have a good night. Thank you for joining me. I appreciate it. Make Shadow great again. Yeah. Shadow is a great game. Shadow Generations. It actually is a great game. Patriot Sonic. Yeah, we need Patriot Sonic. Do you think Trump will make Sonic great again? Oh, I'm ahead of my schedule. I'm ahead of my time, so I'm gonna mess up. I already did. I did mess up. That's great. Yeah, I suck. I'm terrible. I guarantee you could not play this game better than me. I guarantee. I'm top like 200 in the world. Buddy old pal. America is over. Hit subscribe if you think America's over. You're a good gamer, but a terrible political analyst. But at least you'll say I'm a good gamer. I mean, this is Sonic the Hedgehog. It's not very challenging. There's not only 200 people playing this. A couple million people here. In this stream right now. Playing Sonic the Hedgehog. Like, I guarantee you would not get sub 150 on this map. Or on this level. Look at this, 211. Let's see how many people there are. What am I worldwide? They cheated. Okay, well, I was like 5,000 before, so doesn't show you how many people nation or globally. Eggman and Trump are on the Epstein flight logs. Eggman and Trump are on the Eggman and Trump are on the Epstein flight logs, bro. That's crazy. That's crazy. That's a crazy statement. So was Clinton. Who said that's my boy Clinton? That's your boy Trump. If you want me to, what's up, bro? You're not a Trump supporter? I'm not a Trump supporter. I'm a liberal. I'm a liberal. Where's Space Colony Arc? Where's Space Colony Arc? I always have to do Space Colony Arc once before I get off. There's millions of people here, bro. There's millions of people watching me play Sonic the Hedgehog right now. And this is Sonic the Hedgehog. Where's the Space Colony Arc at? I don't even know. Oh, here it is. Oh yeah. U.S. Liberal Party when?
Fine. Got you now. I won't let you get away.
Oh, the new movie's coming out soon. The new movie's out soon. I'm excited, bro. New Sonic movie. I already played this game. I don't need your tutorials. Can I just jump off? Oh, there's nothing down there. Whoops. Beta, thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you for hopping on here and saying beta. You really contributed to society today. Really appreciate that. I don't want to hit that. I don't want to hit that. This is the ultimate power. Oh no. Okay. Nice. This game's fun, by the way. Like, I actually really recommend it. I'm a liberal. I'm just playing Sonic right now, or Shadow, because I've been streaming for 4 hours and I'm winding down again at the end of the night. But you should hit like and subscribe if you are a liberal and you like Sonic the Hedgehog. If you're a liberal and you want some political commentary, hit like and subscribe. Become a channel member. Sonic is also pro-life. Bro, what's happening here? Every stream I gotta end it with Sonic the Hedgehog gameplay, for real. It's gonna be my new tradition. This is the ultimate power. This is the ultimate power. Isn't this so cool? Look at those graphics, bro. Shadow. Where am I? Where am I? This reminds me of Trump and how he blows the competition, or how he blows through the competition. Ooh. Drop a like and hit subscribe if you're a liberal Sonic fan. Whoa. Oh, Shadow. It's a big building. What's going on here? Yeah. Oh, yeah.
The promised time will arrive once more.
If I beat this level, Kamala's gonna win this election next week. The election that's happening next week. The re-election. Thank you for liking and subscribing. Can I type these guys? I am the ultimate power.
What? So what I was tracking was
him.
I won't let him escape again.
Nice. Kamala didn't already lose. The election's next week, bro. So weird. All right, have a good night, everyone. Bro, the election's next week. I don't know what you're talking about, bro. Good night. Have a good one. Thank you all for joining me. Kamala didn't lose. The election's next week, bro. I don't know what you're talking about, dude. She didn't lose. Bro, a zesty version of Tony Hinchcliffe is some crazy work. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna lie. That's crazy work, bro. That's crazy. That's a crazy thing to say to another person. Crazy thing to say. Bro, the election's next week, bro. Bro, y'all are stupid. Y'all are stupid, bro. You think I'm serious. Y'all are stupid. Y'all are so dumb. Oh my god, bro. You're so dumb. Go to bed.